So, Joe, last night, 11 p.m. screening of Reagan.
You're a madman.
Universal City Walk. Well, it was my only option. I've been putting this off. Off all week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see this movie. I don't want to see Reagan. I have to see Reagan though. I have to see Reagan.
You know what's so funny? I hate to interrupt your story, but I saw it at 11 a.m. on Friday. The first screening after our episode.
Smart. That's smart.
I had to see it. But
That's as soon as the tooth starts giving you issues, you just yanked it out.
I just saw it immediately.
You're like, I know where this is going.
Yes, I forget it now. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay, but you saw it last night, 11 p.m., which is psychotic.
The last possible chance for me to see it, I saw it. And 11 o'clock because we took Sandy to Disneyland for his birthday. And so I was at Disneyland from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And I know you love your children. That is long.
That's crazy.
That's
I know.
insane.
I know. And then I did 11. We drove back, and I did 11 p.m. screening of Reagan.
Sick.
I was weirdly hyped for it though, because it was just like I'm running on adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then 30 minutes before the screening, I buy my ticket, and the best sight that you could ever see on this earth. Nobody has bought a ticket to this screening yet. I'm the only. Every seat is available.
Screening.
Every private screening of Reagan at AMC City Walk. Now I'm like, fuck yes,
Heaven.
here we go. And then no one's, and it's like 30 minutes before at 11 o'clock Wednesday. I was like, no one's coming to this movie.
Reagan.
No one's coming to this movie, right? And we'll see later in the box office. Nobody did come to this movie this week, but
we'll talk about that.
I got to the theater, right, and I got there early. I got there for the first trailer. And if you go to AMC theaters now, there's at least 30 minutes, about 30 minutes of trailers, previews, the Nicole Kidman shit, everything. I get there for the first trailer. I walk in like king of the world. I walk in literally with my arms I'm gonna spread them freaking Cortez, I'm some evil conquistador claiming this land that is not their own.
Right.
I'm walking in just and I look up in the back row. There's one guy in the back row, and I was like, "Where'd you come from? Did you buy a ticket in the last 15 minutes? How'd this happen?" So I abandoned my plan because if I went in my reserved seat, I was going to be 2 seats down from this guy. I'm like, I'm not watching Reagan 2 seats away from one person. In front of, we're both of us just surveying an empty theater. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I sit in the middle, and then I'm sitting there and I'm just steaming because I'm like, this is not where I want to sit. This guy took my back row away.
You
from
thought you were
me.
going to be alone, and now there's a guy behind you, so you can't vape.
And it was one of the
text.
upstairs theaters where the
shit.
back row is under an awning. So I would just been hidden from the world. I would have been nothing. I would have been disappeared. I would have been absent.
Sounds awesome.
No one would have known that I existed while I was watching Reagan. But there's one guy in there, and then I kid you not, I think it was during not the Nicole Kidman promo, but that one of the couple with weird sexual tension who race cars and give each other cokes.
Yeah, they dance.
It's unclear
They
if they're
end up at the movies.
dating or if they've been married for 10 years.
No, it feels like neither of those things. It feels like
it's unclear what their
it's
dynamic
two
is.
coworkers
They're
that have a
competitive?
crush.
Yes,
but
but
they're
why
exploring it aggressively?
It's
I
Jim
really
and
don't
Pam.
know.
Yeah, it's Jim and Pam. That's the only
I
explanation.
suppose.
It's just the most annoying crush you've ever seen
It's
acted
something
out
like
as
that.
a Coca-Cola AMC promo. So during that, I hear a really aggressive a shuffling of a body getting up and out of their seat. And then I hear kunk, kunk, kunk coming down the stairs. And I was like, this dude's, I literally instinctively put my hand up like this because this guy's about to put a rope around the back of my neck and choke me out.
You're a moron. Did you actually do that?
No, I did. Instinctively.
You instinctively put your hand in front of your throat in case he were to wrap a rope around it?
This is why I sit in the back. Why do you sit in the backseat of a movie theater?
So I can fucking
I sit in the backseat of a
do
movie theater
whatever
so
I
no
want.
one is behind me.
So I can write my notes and I can, do whatever.
Wrong. I sit in the backseat of a movie theater so that no one can possibly
Are you kidding me?
I can't remember what movie it is, but I saw someone get in a movie theater get choked out with strangled to death from somebody about. I don't know. It left
You're
an impression.
such a
on there.
liar. You just want to vape and watch Reagan. There's no way it's for safety.
These are collateral benefits. These are merely sort of benefits.
All right. So the guy stands up, four rows behind you at the movie theater.
I go,
you put your hand in front of your throat like a crazy man.
Because I feel the feet coming down the stairs.
Right.
I was like,
that's unnerving, I guess.
This is Reagan too.
Okay.
And it's also still pre-show. I don't know why this guy's here. He hasn't bought a ticket to Reagan on my by my research. He just flies past me in a huff, walks out. I was like, oh, maybe he had like a bathroom thing. He's got to run to the bathroom real quick. So I'm still expecting this guy's going to come back. I'm 15 minutes into Reagan. This guy's not come back. So I'm like, all right. So I walk back up to the top, and I take my rightful place, my rightful seat in the back corner under the ledge. This guy never comes back into the movie. He sat in Reagan for half of the previews, left, and never came back.
It sounds like he fell asleep from the previous showing of Reagan.
Yes.
And he'd been sleeping there for like hours.
Or you know what? He may have stayed around just long enough to see what the movie was, because my other thought was, now that they don't publicize what movie is in which theater.
It's so annoying.
Yeah. And so
you can never do the classic thing that we
I'll
all
get
grew
one
up doing.
ticket and watch two movies.
And then I'll stay here all night.
Everybody's
That
fine.
stinks.
Everybody's fine. I wonder if he was doing that, where he was like, he guessed wrong. Reagan, fuck this. And then he's looking at me, he's like, why are you here?
Yeah, who are you? He thinks you're a ghost. I'm seeing ghosts again.
This as he
you're like
past me.
making sure he doesn't attack you. Well, that's great. When I saw Reagan opening day Friday at 11 a.m. at City Walk, it was also an odd crowd.
Yeah.
It was 5
You don't say.
men, shocker of the century, 5 men, plus or minus -5 plus 20 years of, from like 25 to 50, right? 5 random guys, all of whom looked disheveled. What I kind of came to the conclusion is this is all dads that didn't want to go to Universal for too long, so they sent their partner and children to the park.
Yeah,
and they're like, "I'm gonna go watch Reagan.
Dennis. I'm gonna go watch Dennis rock his Reagan impression for
there was a guy
2.5 hours.
There was a guy.
This movie's long.
Who an hour in he goes, and he stands up and he leaves, and I was like, brother, I get that. Comes back with 2 big bags of popcorn. I was like, oh, he's loving it.
I'll tell you, either he loved it or it was because the thing I love about Reagan. We're going to talk about Reagan a lot today. The thing I love about Reagan is how much it disappointed the National Review and how much it disappointed these old, these classic right wing establishment sort of outlets. The National Review was just like, this is such a disgrace to the man. And I was like, fuck, this makes me love the movie. How much it disappointed all these Reagan heads. So I wonder if that sigh was the sigh of this is such. Ron deserves better than this. If it was that kind of a sigh.
Maybe. He seemed pretty excited. He seemed pretty hard. Pretty amped.
2 things of popcorn.
2 things of popcorn. This was a gentleman that saw movies early in Friday mornings and
eats shit ton
didn't
of popcorn.
Necessarily, I'm not one to judge, but let's just say it's the kind of guy
he didn't have his
that
breakfast.
might grab 2 huge popcorns and watch Reagan. That's all.
He didn't have his breakfast that day. All right, this week on Movies Baby, we're reviewing Reagan. Shocker, starring Dennis Quaid and a cavalcade of Hollywood stars. And of course, all the hottest box office and Hollywood news. And in the second hour, this is for Patreon subscribers only, baby. Get ready for Nixon, a tournament that will determine the ultimate tricky dick pic. That's the best movie about Nixon, Watergate. It has to be explicitly about Nixon. We're not doing Nixon's America movies. We're doing movies that are explicitly about Nixon, Watergate. We got a whole March Madness style bracket. We're ready to rock. I can't wait to do that. Joe, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Margo, roll that theme song. Oh, there it is. I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Yes, it's true. What else do I have to say? I saw Reagan at 11 o'clock at night. I've got it bad, too. Whenever one ends, it's like the death of a friend. I get to wishing that there were 2 more reels. And then a voice cries out, "Move, baby, you're in my seat, and you don't want to mess with who the Philly movie freak." There he is.
I can't get enough movies, baby. I can't get enough movies, baby. Oh, yes, it's true. Oh, I've got it bad, too.
He's got it bad.
Every night of the year, like the moon, I appear
Ooh.
at all the movie theaters all over town. Just City Walk. And the voice cries out.
That's my line.
"Oh, baby.
Lost in a fog. He needs someone to talk to."
Oops, it's the Georgia movie dog.
Hi.
Dog, 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 dog.
I can't get enough movies, baby.
I can't get enough movies,
I
baby.
can't get enough movies,
I can't.
baby.
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly talk show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. My name is Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, here as always with my partner in crime, Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! Stomped Clemson into the dirt last Saturday, baby. I said it once, I'll say it again. This is Dabo Swinney's last year at Clemson. Mark my words. But we're not talking about college football. We're talking about movies. And, Joe, I can't wait to talk about Reagan more, which we'll do. I can't wait to get caught up on all the news and the fests and all of that.
Yeah.
But first, there's never enough of it. But they tell me I can't live without it. Margot, show me the money. Here we go. This is the box office for last weekend. Oh, boy. Whoo. This is the end. This is the end of summer is what you're looking at. You're looking at the in-between, 2 very dismal in-between weeks at the box office, last week and this week.
For the folks at home that are listening to the old pod, washing those dishes, driving around, we have a new top 5, folks, but some of it will look familiar. In its 6th week, number 1 movie this week was Deadpool and Wolverine, bringing in almost $599 million domestic.
Still second biggest movie of the year. And look, Deadpool and Wolverine will claim that it was at the top of the box office for 4 weeks. We're only giving it credit for 2, okay? The last 2 weeks don't count because there's no competition, and it only made 14 or 15 million this week. Does not count.
They don't
Does
care.
not count.
Second place again this week, Alien Romulus. Again, we're definitely getting Alien Remus.
Congratulations.
It's happening.
This makes it the 10th biggest movie of the year. It's up to 289 worldwide on an $80 million budget. So it is currently, I mean, it's deep into profit now.
Yep.
If you think of 160 as the market needed to clear for profit, I mean, it's going into $129 million of profit, roughly. That's crazy. Congratulations to a great director, Fede Alvarez, and that whole team. I know Joe was a little on Alien Romulus, but we love it. We love it.
I'm pro it all.
I mean, this has reinvigorated the franchise.
No, this is great.
Done. We're back, baby.
We're good.
We're back.
Kaylee, we're good.
But also like Disney, like easy. You know, like you're like. Because look, I liked Alien Romulus, but I also feel like Disney's a little bit on notice. Like, don't water this shit down too much. You know what I mean?
Too late, but
yeah, okay, maybe.
But
I think Disney will heed my warnings.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Brett, a very interesting number 3 this week.
Yes.
It was in 6th place
Crazy.
last
What
week.
happened?
Well, here's what happened.
I got a
it's
theory.
the 7th week.
Yes.
Twisters, and you know what happened was Universal for a week put out in 4DX a
that's
Twister
what it was.
and
That's
Twisters in
okay.
4DX this week, which was another really savvy move by Universal, and it brought it back up into 3rd place for an additional
on
7.8 million.
on 200 less screens.
Yep, but up 25% this week to a $7.7 million cum. It kind of reminds me of when
I love that.
when they distribute, the 20th anniversary stuff we've been talking about all year. It's another way of, taking what you have. Twisters kind of suffered internationally, but it's doing great domestically, and they're just piling it on top domestically.
And this is like
the 4DX
7th or 8th week out, and it has this crazy bump. I love it. So the 4DX thing, I was also thinking this is a classic, like, because the last 2 weeks there have not been any like big new releases that have like that have just like captured the collective imagination or anything. This feels also like it was very hot this week. People were looking to get out of the heat, go see a movie, and they're like, oh, yeah, I never saw Twisters.
Well, you know what I read? Apparently, just knowing that something was out in IMAX makes it more popular for people when they're at home. So this is a movie that kind of screams, I want to see it in the movie theater.
Yeah.
So I think when people had the opportunity to see it or see it again with 4DX and feel the wind blowing in their face, I've never been to a 4DX movie, but I'd love to go. I'm totally open to it.
We got to do it. We have to do it for the show. We have to do it for the show. It's a
for the
throwback
show.
to the old, William Castle, smell-o-vision and all that. I love
it
4DX
too, Brett.
thing.
I would love to see a 4DX.
Yeah.
But then here, finally, a new movie this week. And Brett, you were shading it up top, and tell me why. I'm going to kind of.
You think this overperformed?
I think this overperformed.
Okay.
Or how about this? I think this performed well.
It performed fine.
In fourth place, the new release, Reagan. Reagan's out finally after what seemed like 10 to 12 years in production. The Dennis Quaid-led Reagan biopic, 7.5 hours long. It made 7
Speaking of 7.5, it made $7.5 million.
It made 7.5
one for each
million.
hour.
It's up to like 9, 10 now. Yeah, one for each hour.
And look, it's only on a $25 million budget. Yep. So honestly, not a bomb financially. It'll probably break even.
It will break even
for what is what many people, and you'll have to wait for our review, but many people calling the worst movie of the year.
It's also one of these, like we talked about last week with The Forge, the Christian movie from Affirm, and all of the Christian right-wing movies this year, or horror, just niche demos or very specific movies targeted to specific audiences can work. And Reagan's the kind of movie that's going to, I just feel like next week it'll make 3 and then it'll make 2 and then and before you know it, it'll just $30 million. Make its money back, because this is the kind of movie that's going to be targeted to older viewers.
It's going to crush on VOD,
conservative viewers,
like Horizon did. Like Horizon did.
Murder on VOD.
Can you imagine the dads across this fair country of ours that would never drag their ass to the movie theater anymore because they don't want to be around other people or kids. Mm-hmm. But now they're going to sit there, and when they're flipping through their fucking Rokus and they see Reagan. Easiest click of their lives.
Easiest click of all time. I think this movie will continue to make money. The producer, Mark Joseph, is a very interesting character. All I'll say on him is that he was the producer on, do you remember No Safe Spaces, the Adam Carolla Prager documentary? So he's that producer.
Great.
He's he's doing this. And this is his weird distribution thing with Showbiz Direct is the distributor of this movie, a.k.a. a very small firm. I think this is a totally... This is totally surprisingly.
This is a sort of soft bomb for a studio movie.
Right, exactly.
For Reagan, it's whoa.
For some rinky-dink nonsense.
Reagan made $7.5 million.
And so did The Forge, and so did Zoe Kravitz's movie.
Yes.
It's the same thing,
Right. Like you were saying last week, these niche audiences.
Blink twice.
Now, the other new release this week, we didn't watch it, but I think we're going to have to. Margot saw it and really liked it. I think we got to go see this new Blumhouse movie, Afraid.
Next week, folks, I'm definitely going to be talking
Next week, we had a lot of movies to watch this week for
a
lot of Nixon and Reagan movies, which means the run times are crazy. I think we watched...
God, those Nixon movies were 3 hours
fucking
each.
long, yeah. So next week we'll watch Afraid. This is the new release from Blumhouse and Sony. It's Chris Weitz, one half of the Weitz brothers duo, going back to American Pie and everything else they've done. And it's like an evil AI thing. At first I was like, are they just trying to tide us over until Megan 2? But then I've heard, Margot had great things to say. I've heard good things. I'm excited for a little Blumhouse, a sneaky little Blumhouse, release. I love it.
It's the best. That's just a random ass horror.
Because we've got the big Blumhouse release in a couple of weeks, which is the James McAvoy thing, which they've marketed into death.
Oh, Speak
No Evil.
Speak No Evil.
But for now, we'll watch Afraid next week and we'll review it next week. Although financially not great. It made half of what Reagan made on more screens.
And it's
on
horror.
more screens. Yes, so
Did
it should have done better.
Sony and Blumhouse punt?
I did not see a single trailer for this. I mean, we go to movies in AMC every week. It's playing in AMC. Why wasn't there not an Afraid trailer? Why not take out one of the Speak No Evil trailers?
I saw this trailer one time,
really,
and I forgot about it.
And the poster is terrible.
Yeah, they really just
poster
punted.
Is terrible.
I
wonder
Neon punted on. Was it Neon that punted on Cuckoo?
Yes.
By the way, whatever Neon's doing is
We're about to talk about
correct, but
dude,
like
I have a
it's
Neon
just-
story in the news section that you're gonna love.
Okay.
That I'm gonna love. You're gonna
Is
hate.
it that about that article today?
It's about how he talked about how if they had gotten Hitman instead of Netflix,
I
that
purposefully
he would have made
didn't-
Hitman an Oscar winner.
I read this, and I thought about what
I
it could do
can't
for the
wait to
show.
just- I can't
and I
wait
said,
to-
I don't need to talk about Hitman with Brett again.
I'm about to take a victory lap on your
Fine,
ass. All right. So
well, okay. So anyway, there's the week, folks.
yes, yeah. Hold on, there are a couple other things.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
Look, Afraid, not great opening weekend. The movie cost $12 million. That's probably why they didn't, have a huge marketing budget, because they said like, it's horror, it's Blumhouse. We'll break even just off of those two
that's
facts
such
alone.
a crazy look. They're obviously very smart
Yeah.
people that know what they're doing. I'm asking the question,
Yeah.
which is like, okay, fine, it's a low budget horror, but like that's what you make all your money on.
I know.
Why wouldn't you
I
just
know.
do a little bit more, and then this 3-6 figure could be 7-6,
Particularly compared to how well Megan did, and it's sort of in a similar vein story wise.
maybe they were like, there's no stars in this movie.
Well,
There's nothing,
John
there's no, like-
Cho in Blumhouse world, you could make John Cho marketable.
yeah, you definitely could. You're right, Brett. You're right. I think you could have made the movie marketable. AI, Blumhouse, Cho, horror.
They just were not interested in marketing this thing.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I think they put everything into Speak No Evil.
I think maybe that's part of it.
So the other one, another one I want to focus on is at number 12. I was like, Sight and Sound presents Daniel Live, and of course my first thought, as a movie lover, is like, Sight and Sound's doing like movie screenings now.
I did the same
right?
thing. Yes.
And we're thinking of this as the British Film Institute's magazine / the poll that is like the most authoritative poll of great movies right now every couple of years that they do. So there's another company called Sight and Sound, another company that probably is not aware of the BFI Sight and Sound. I went to their website. Here's the description of Sight and Sound. By the way, spoiler alert, this is another Christian movie. It's like a musical about the life of Daniel. But here is the description. This is the funniest thing ever. Sight and Sound began nearly 50 years ago in rural Pennsylvania.
Yes.
When a dairy farmer went from producing milk to producing live entertainment with a purpose.
That's my
Now
fucking
with
life story, bro.
2 state-of-the-art theater locations, an online streaming platform, and a film studio, Sight and Sound brings powerful stories from the pages of scripture and history to life on stage and screen.
That's a good idea.
These dairy farmers turned movie producers have no idea that they've chosen like the most authoritative name in cinema and just named their company that. And I honestly,
good for you.
Good for them.
Like they're just like, all right, MGM presents Daniel the Musical.
I could not be rooting for you harder to fail. I could
come
not be
on.
more secretly impressed by your by your just complete lack of any awareness of the industry in which you've chosen to work. I love it. I hate it. Next week, though, I want some predictions from you, Joe, because we've got what is going to be the biggest, like in this little doldrums we're in, but end of summer before award season, in this little time period, Beetlejuice has a chance to really make some money. It's been a 5-year gap since Burton's Dumbo fiasco.
Right.
But the word is around town right now that Burton is back. The reviews coming out of Venice, where it premiered last week, have been positive. The like fan service stuff could not be done better. And I hate fan service, but I'm like, they're doing it well, And so I don't know. I don't know what to think, because box office projections are high right now. According to Deadline, Beetlejuice is projected to earn $145 million worldwide opening weekend. That's right. That's what Deadline's saying, which would be the first time in 7 years a movie has opened above $100 million in September. They're saying 100 to 110 domestic, and then 145 worldwide, which would make it the largest domestic opening since 2000 in September since 2017's It, which made a shit ton of money. Now Warner Brothers, the studio, the distributor, is being a little more conservative. They're saying 80 million domestic. Plus 35 international, which would still make it the first movie in 7 years in September to go over 100. So even the conservative estimates have this being the biggest September movie in 7 years. We were saying like 50, 60 if it's lucky.
And we were being nice.
I thought that was optimistic.
I don't
Look,
know. All right, here's all the reasons
What do you
why.
think?
Here's what I think.
Yes.
1, Beetlejuice is beloved. Okay. Number 2, look, it has a Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Jenny Ortega, and their marketing chutzpah combined is strong.
Yeah, and you know who the MVP is right now is Ortega.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate Ortega.
Never, ever.
She is not just a great actor, a smart, savvy, like brand kind of person. Like, man, she just maintains like this sort of unimpeachable coolness, and hipness. And man, I think she is marketing the hell out of this thing. She's been like wearing these like outfits that nod to the original movie. She's so into She's going to bring her crowd into this. All the Wednesday people are going to come out for this.
Wednesday was like the biggest show on Netflix ever, right? Not an actual fact, but it was humongous.
All the Wednesday people are going to come out for this, and then she's also made peace with all the original fans by doing all these nods to the lore. So she's won over all the old dorks. Yeah. So all the old dorks are going to come out. All the new kids are going to come out. They're right.
I'm kind of gonna. And then the other thing is apparently Tim Burton showed up, and apparently it's like creative and
Burton's
fun.
Back is the
and
word.
Burton does a thing.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton is just effortlessly and endlessly
Catherine O'Hara's
great at being
it.
a star. Catherine O'Hara's being funny. Like and they're doing a big job marketing it. You see it everywhere. It's coming out in IMAX. It's like all the posters and the Denny's has the Beetlejuice menu, which
Cross
I actually
promotion.
there's a Denny's 2 blocks away from my house, and I will be taking Enzo to eat the Beetlejuice menu.
Good.
So like honestly, I think it's just like a smart studio putting all their energies with a popular ass cast for a beloved franchise with Tim Burton, the human ATM.
Yeah.
Just the money printing machine.
You forget that even in his like lull period, he made more money than God. Go look at Alice in Wonderland.
Dude.
Even Dumbo, which is by his standards and by the standards of those Disney live action remakes was a failure, still was like 300-400 million.
Also, is anyone like blame? Like it's not like Tim Burton to blame. It's not.
I will say Tim
Burton doing Tim Burton.
My
stuff.
one thing that I don't like, my one regret about this new Beetlejuice is, obviously I get why you didn't bring Jeffrey Jones back for this one. I am glad that you didn't bring Baldwin back because he's just in a different headspace and he would have been weird in this. I wish they would have brought Gina Davis back. Apparently Gina Davis didn't want to do it.
Okay.
But we just saw her in Blink twice, and she's great.
She was really
she's
good in Blink
great.
twice.
Yeah, the comedic sort of manic energy she was bringing would have been so cool. But I don't know. She apparently was not down for the Beetlejuice remake, which is fine. I don't want her to be unhappy.
We got Winona. We got Catherine.
We're
fine.
Catherine is the linchpin.
Right.
You got Catherine and Keaton back. You're good. And Winona is like the cherry on top.
We're good.
And then you got Ortega. I mean, that's crazy.
I'm not saying I don't want Gina Davis. I'm just saying
I can
Gina
live
Davis
with it.
didn't want to do it.
I can live with it. It's my only I wish Gina would have been in this. But you can't. The thing is that you probably couldn't bring Gina back without bringing Baldwin back, and I did not want Baldwin anything near this thing.
Maybe that's why she didn't want to do it.
His weird toxic John and Kate +8 energy he's got going on now.
Yeah,
thank you.
And that murderer energy.
Oh, also the murder energy.
Is that libel? Maybe we cut that. Okay, so no, he's innocent actually.
All right, Then, we want to be clear. He shot a woman and killed her, but it wasn't his fault.
He's innocent.
Yeah, sure. It's your movie.
Brett, we have to cut
Also,
this now.
speaking of last week, I just want to say something because I understand. I shouldn't relitigate this crow.
This
thing.
all getting cut.
Okay.
Oh, don't bring up the crow. No. We have a whole show to do. Okay, moving on. Beetlejuice. All right, here, ready, and enter. Anyway, Brett.
It's not getting cut. You're hearing and watching this right now.
And action.
We didn't say anything bad. Everything we said's fine.
Action. So, but Brett.
Yes.
Honestly, if I'm sitting in this chair next week and I look at the screen and it says $100 million domestic,
it won't be.
I'll be so surprised.
No, domestic.
No shade, but but
I think 80-90 is
I've been wrong
correct.
all year. I was like, remember everyone was wrong about Bad Boys, but Bad Boys, that's not going to do it. And then it was huge.
I
remember?
think only Inside Out 2 and Deadpool & Wolverine have opened over 100 domestic this year, though. I don't even think Dune 2 did over 100 domestic opening weekend. So that would be crazy. I think it does. I think the studio is right. I think it's closer to 80.
That's great.
That's huge.
I'll be surprised at 80. Well, we'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see. Now, let's get into some movie news, baby. What's going on in Hollywood? What is everyone talking about? What's the word on the street? We'll tell you. First of all, the big thing. This is breaking news. This just happened. We all know that this Paramount purchase has been in the works forever. So basically, to summarize very quickly, Paramount Studios, the only studio that's still in Hollywood proper, right there on Melrose, that in Hollywood. Melrose or Santa Monica? Melrose. It's on Melrose. Whatever. It's Paramount. You know what it is.
It's 2 blocks from my son's preschool.
Cool.
Yeah.
So It's been in the it's owned by the Redstone family, formerly Sumner Redstone. That old bitch finally died, and then his wife took over. Oh, you're a big Sumner Redstone fan? I'm sorry. But the Redstone still owned it, which are they're the literal basis for the Roys in Succession, if you need to know who they are. And they've been trying to sell it, Paramount, for a while. The deal they had in place, it's taken forever, and they've taken these counter offers and tried to find something better. But the inevitable deal that has finally wound its way to completion is they're being purchased by Skydance, which is located out in Century City, I think. I think they're over on the west side. But they've made some good stuff. Weren't they in on the Mission Impossible movie or something? They've done some different things, right? But the big thing is they've got money to burn, baby, because they are owned by David Ellison, who is one of the children of Larry Ellison, who is one of the top 10 richest people, probably top 5 richest people in the country, the founder of Oracle.
He has $188 billion.
So much money.
And
his daughter founded Annapurna Pictures, which did a lot of cool indie stuff. Sort of
Annapurna's great.
A24 before A24, really. Annapurna was amazing. His son David, though, went a little bit more mainstream with this Skydance company, and now very mainstream, buying freaking Paramount. And so this purchase is finally happening. But what we found out today is this is truly we're living in Succession. This is real life Succession here. Because not only were the Redstones the inspiration for Succession, now there's another Succession-esque family, the Ellisons, who are colliding into the Redstones for the ultimate sort of Succession, monolith. Because we just found out that, David Ellison was the face of this purchase, the Kendall Roy, the son. He was the face of this purchase. We now found out that behind the scenes, Larry Ellison, the Logan Roy, the billionaire.
He owns Oracle.
He has wormed his way into becoming the majority stakeholder in Paramount moving forward. So he just had David go out and do the dirty work and be the face of the thing. And behind the scenes, Larry was becoming the actual sort of heir apparent to Sumner Redstone and the Redstone family. So Larry Ellison, not David, is going to be the majority stakeholder in Paramount. So good news. Another classic Hollywood studio will now be owned by a Silicon Valley weirdo. Isn't that great? Hooray, hooray for all the things that happen in this little world of ours. Larry Ellison now owns Paramount, the studio that made The Godfather, Rosemary's Baby.
They own CBS. It's not nothing. It's a humongous acquisition.
Yes. And
Larry Ellison's in charge now. But Brett, you know what? There was actually a mini third Succession that you might not know about that I have to tell everyone about.
Tell me.
So this happened in July. David Ellison's going to be in charge of Paramount now. And then why are we still talking about it in early September? Because there was a go shop window. So that meant Paramount stakeholders were able to go out and see if anybody else wanted to submit a deal.
That's right.
So Edgar Bronfman Jr. put together a cohort of crypto money and international money for around $6 to $8 billion he put together to present a challenge to this bid. And this guy is great, Brett. You got to learn about this guy if you don't know about him. Edgar Bronfman Jr., he is the heir to the Seagram's fortune.
Oh, they bankrolled NXIVM.
Yes.
They bankrolled the sex cult.
Yes. Okay, so he is the heir to the Seagram's fortune. He eventually became the CEO of Seagram's.
Claire Bronfman was one of the heads of NXIVM and is now in jail. So this is Claire's brother?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, so Edgar Bronfman Jr., he...
half sister. So half brother of Claire Bronfman.
He is the Seagram's heir. He became the CEO of Seagram's, and he mismanaged the company so bad that he had to sell it in disgrace. The big thing that
it's Seagram's.
No, I
buy 7 Crown like I'm fucking it's going out of business, and I've never seen a commercial for it in my life. Well, what are you doing? Sell the fucking ginger ale.
I'll tell you exactly what he did.
Okay.
Do you know Seagram's made all their money because they own 25% of DuPont? And one of the first things that Edgar Bronfman Jr. did was he sold his shares of DuPont back to DuPont. They bought it immediately. Now Seagram's has close to no value, and he had to embarrassingly sell the company, and he lost the family company. He went on to become the CEO of Warner Music. He worked there for a long time. He worked all over. He used all the money he got from selling Seagram's. He started doing all this movie stuff, and he made Broadway plays, and he made movies, and he did all this stuff.
They all want to get into movies.
They all do,
these
brother.
guys. All
CEO
of
of Warner.
Movies.
Then he invested in Fubo. Now he's the chairman of the board of Fubo. Anyway, this guy put together this like ragtag thing. Apparently, Redstone was like into it and wanted to backstab Ellison, but this guy is too much of a fuck up and just no. And then Larry Ellison swooped in with his $100 bajillion.
So this is literally like Succession, where like they don't want to sell the company to the rich guy who's inevitably going to buy the company because it's like too much. It's like by selling, you're admitting there's some sort of admittal of defeat, even though you're making more money than God out of the sale. There's some sort of if you sell to another alpha, you're somehow like admitting defeat. Whereas they wanted to find some little like dumb upstart to like dump this company on for more money than it was worth.
Yes,
and they couldn't. But at the end of the day, this is the Ellisons or Alexander Skarsgård in Succession. They were always going to buy the fucking thing.
And
Larry Ellison was always going to buy this thing.
The Ellisons have money.
Yeah,
they're
liquid.
There's no like. They have the cash on hand.
Yeah.
That's like real. Like when you're selling something for $8 billion.
Yeah.
Bronfman put together a ragtag group of this and that and stock and international. That money's not for sure. Like when you sign that piece of paper, you got to have the freaking dough. So anyway, Oracle wins.
And you mentioned DuPont.
Yes.
That was your neighbor who killed the wrestler. Old John
right.
DuPont out there in the Foxcatcher
Anyway,
estate.
look, it all circles back to Pennsylvania, always and forever. So represent PA. Anyway, Paramount is now owned by Oracle.
By Larry Ellison.
And David gets to run it, and we'll see what he does with CBS and Picard and fucking whatever, RuPaul's Drag Race.
I mean, for comparison, this is like I don't know, what is this? This is like if Steve Ballmer if Steve Ballmer bought Universal Studios. This is like,
well, you know what this does remind me of? I know David Ellison. I know that he has tons of media acumen.
Yeah.
But it kind of, when Bronfman for sure, it feels like a rich guy wants to buy a sports team.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I love the Suns. I'll buy them.
I want to sit courtside.
$45 billion.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not sitting courtside for somebody else's team.
I mean, look, Oracle
Skydance
owns the Warriors.
Yeah, and Oracle Arena. Skydance track record is not terrible. They did the most recent Mission Impossible movies. They've done
Jeff,
like I said, they've done some fun stuff.
David Ellison is like he though he is the Kendall Roy like figure in the story, like he's not a disaster. People really actually like David Ellison as far as
they did the Coen Brothers True Grit.
Yeah, people like David.
The Tom
Ellison.
Cruise Jack Reacher.
Also Jeff Shell.
They just try to do money makers.
Jeff Shell, the former head of NBC Universal, is also part of the executive group. Like there's lots of really smart people that are in this bid. It's actually good for Hollywood and good for Paramount and good for everybody that the Ellisons won the bid and not like the fuck up like Bronfman who would sell 25% to DuPont.
Who would just turn into Nexium Part 2.
So we don't need that. So I think it's actually a good thing if you have to pick your favorite billionaire owning a company. But good story, fun stuff.
Your self-esteem could use a real pick-me-up. Why don't you come out to this 2-week conference we're doing outside of Salt Lake City, and I mean way outside of Salt Lake City. I guess. Look. Here's the good thing: the Redstones are out of the movie business. I guess that's the good. I guess that's good. That's good, right?
I guess. A big. I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Who knows? Who knows?
Good luck, David Ellison.
We'll see. Larry's not going to weigh in on the. David's going to run the production side of things. Larry's just going to cash checks.
But you're right. Like in Succession, though. Who cares?
Who cares?
Like because at the end of the day, when Larry goes yay or nay, that's all that matters.
I mean. As we've seen, though, it'll be interesting to see what happens because Paramount has been in a bit of a spiral lately from just and who knows how much these things actually matter, but just like bad press lately. Like they destroyed all the Interstellar 70mm IMAX prints. Who even knows to what extent that's true? But that was the news story coming out that we reported on this show.
No, that's true. That happened.
I mean, it seems to have happened.
I don't think it influenced the sale, but
just like bad press. They just seem incompetent lately. They seem like they're in this incompetent spiral. They have this Rosemary's Baby prequel, and they can't even get it into a theatrical release because apparently it didn't come out good, so they have to put it straight on Paramount Plus. They've just been in a little bit of a spiral recently, and they need some new blood. New leadership.
I'm sure
so,
this is good for them.
Good luck to the Ellisons, I guess. I don't know.
Good luck to the Ellisons for real.
Let's talk about these festivals, Joe, because we are in In the midst of festival season, Telluride, Venice. This is where the awards buzz starts. This is the part of the year where the summer blockbusters have faded into memory, and now we're getting serious. Now we're all turning into amateur cinephiles and getting very serious about the movies. And these performances. What performances are we gonna give awards to? What
just
movies
like making fun of
are we gonna give awards to?
That's what you care about.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right, okay,
yes,
right,
yeah.
yeah,
It's just funny just how
okay.
seasonal our thinking is about
Yeah,
this
no,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, all right, let's get serious now. So Telluride, really quickly. The big buzz coming out of Telluride, of course, Sean Baker's Nora just continues to get just buzz on buzz on buzz. I would not be surprised to see that getting a Best Picture nominee. Would not surprise. Would not.
I'd be surprised if
to
it didn't.
If it didn't, Sean Baker getting a director nominee.
Yes.
Mikey Madison getting an acting nom.
Absolutely.
Also, I was very excited about this. I don't know a lot about it, but a couple words that stood out to me. Jacques Audiard's Spanish language musical, Emilia Perez. Jacques Audiard, of course, made many movies, but A Prophet is my favorite, one of the best movies of the 21st century. So Jacques Audiard, who made like the gritty prison noir Prophet, doing a musical, and it got buzz? Great.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Those were the two movies that showed at Cannes. And Emilia Perez did great. I mean, apparently Zoe Saldana's amazing in it. Selena Gomez is like fine in it. Whatever, who cares? But it's about like a trans woman. It's about a musical, and then there's also a lot of stuff about like some sort of like political moment. Like there's a lot going on,
and it seems it's a very different move for Audiard. So I'm excited about Emilia Perez. And then Joe, I know you're not going to be upset about this, but you need to start acclimating yourself to the to Saturday night being like an award season movie for the next 5 months. You know, people are going to be talking about Jason Reitman's Saturday Night, all about the opening, the pilot episode of Saturday Night Live, shot in real time, 90 minutes before the start of the show. You know, there is, I think, some understandable hesitation about this movie. It's sort of, you know, we all think Saturday Night Live is just this sort of bloated carcass of its former self now, that Lorne is just, you know, fucking Sauron lording over his empire and doesn't have the chops anymore. This thing just gets sort of survives off of its sort of corporate and media connections, et cetera, all the free publicity it gets, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. People are saying very good things about Saturday Night. They're saying very good things about Sammy Fableman, Gabriel LaBelle as Lorne Michaels. I don't know, Joe. You need to get your mind around the fact that we might be seeing a Best Picture nom for Saturday Night.
No, we won't. We will not. I will not be seeing a Best Picture nom for Saturday Night. Now, here's why. Number one, Jason Reitman. Here's what I heard about this movie. I heard it has great pace. It has a ton of fun energy. I'm sure it's totally fun. The cast is very talented. Dylan O'Brien's talented. Cooper Hoffman is talented. They're all talented. I think this is a classic, like, maybe it gets some Golden Globes.
Speaking of spiraling,
it gets some Golden Globe noms. You know, I just don't feel like this is going to rise to the occasion of an Oscar movie. Now, it sort of is nostalgic for older people, but features a young cast, so it might have generational crossover appeal. And it does have an actual movie star in it, Rachel Sennett. So, you know, maybe that is, you know, that's cool. And apparently she's the standout in it, and I'm not surprised. But I just like. There's no fucking way this is going to be.
Speaking of standouts,
like we just talking about Nora. This isn't going to be like a Nora. This is going to be like This is going to be like an HBO movie.
Joe, I'm not talking about
one of my favorite genres.
Joe, I'm not talking about the actual best movies of the year. I'm talking about the you know, power dynamics of awards nominations. I think this.
I don't understand.
This thing, well, because Lorne has sway. Lorne has sway.
Not at the Oscars.
If Lorne likes, of course he does.
Yeah, I guess you're
right. If Lorne likes the way that he's presented in this movie, Lorne behind the scenes is going to go, can you just give me
There's
this
no
one?
fucking way. There's no way. This is
you
one of the
just give me
5
this
best
one?
movies. Look, right now, without any preparation,
I've given you
here's
so
the 5
much.
movies that'll be Best Picture, right?
Can
It'll
you
be
just give me
Nora,
this one?
Sing Sing, Dune 2. What else? Sorry, we should have prepped this. We'll do this. Sorry, we'll do this for months. There's no need to do this.
No,
right
we're gonna do it.
Like, whatever. Okay,
but
sorry.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
not our picks,
way.
but Joe, it's the fucking Oscars. They're
okay,
idiots.
but,
Okay,
no,
it's like
fine,
it's
but
gonna,
like this isn't it like a
I
isn't
could
this
see
movie like a
this-
comedy? Like that's not popular Oscar stuff.
No, but it's
like a story.
It's an edgy
like an
story-driven
Argo.
comedy. It's the fucking Bear. You know, it's like the Bear of you know.
I don't
movie
think
comedies.
I don't look. Maybe I haven't seen the movie. by the way,
I haven't seen the movie.
You're not
either.
making a judgment call on the quality of the film. You're just saying this is going to be nominated for
I'm
Best Picture.
strictly
no
reading the
fucking
room.
way.
I'm reading the room, and here's
Classic
here's
post-festival
here's what I've been
nonsense.
reading the room on too. Gabriel LaBelle,
Okay.
Sammy Fabelman, and I've turned my hat around backwards for this.
I see that.
So that I can sell this a little better. This dude's got riz.
He's got
baby.
riz?
He's got fucking Sammy Fabelman's got fucking riz.
Good for him. What makes you say this?
I saw this guy on the red carpet at Telluride.
All right.
He's got one of those mesh shirts that everyone's wearing now. You know, it looks like
Sure.
like chainmail.
Yeah,
if it was
yeah.
made by like DKNY or something.
Yeah, Brett, I know
So
what you're
he's
talking about.
He's got this mesh
The
shirt
oldest
on.
description ever. It's the oldest man ever describing like a
Nah,
popular
baby, do you see
piece
the
of
hat?
clothing for 40
Is this hat
years.
on forwards or is it
All right,
on
it's on backward. It's on backwards.
Okay, so this guy's got this mesh shirt on. He's got a
Yeah, I'm
blazer.
familiar.
He's got a little chain like I got right here, my Sammy Fabelman chain out.
What are you talking about?
And then he's got this like curly, messy mop of hair.
All right.
This guy is doing red carpet interviews like he was born for it, baby.
Good for him. I love
he is
that.
out there with the charisma, with the calm,
Hell
cool
yeah.
sexiness. He's doing
Really?
the whole thing. Dude,
Really?
I saw this interview. I was like, oh, I think this guy. I was like, this is the picture that Mark Zuckerberg took to his stylist and was like, I want to look like this when he got his like new
Sammy Fabelman?
when he got his new glow up. He's like Sammy Fabelman's like right now is like the handsome, and this is Gabriel LaBelle. We shouldn't keep calling him Sammy Fabelman, but you know it's the easiest way to remember.
Whatever.
Like I don't know, do a new iconic role. I guess
Yeah,
Lorne Michaels. We'll call him Lorne Michaels now. You pick either one. But anyway, Gabriel LaBelle looked like the really like handsome, sexy version of like what Mark Zuckerberg was trying to do with his glow up. Yeah. Wow. So anyway, all I'm saying is,
So you're feeling the love.
Awards ain't got nothing. Look, I just reread Oscar Wars by Michael Schulman. This shit has nothing to do with the movies.
I get
this
that.
shit has to do with the behind the scenes, with the industry, with the
who's pushing
the
this?
waves. I think Gabriel LaBelle's got the fucking riz to go the diz, baby. That's distance.
Brett.
Copyright.
This seems
riz to go the diz.
How about this? There's no there's no way this will be nominated for any Oscar except maybe Rachel
Carson. Sammy Fabelman's got the riz to go the diz, baby. Cut it. All right. Now let's talk about Venice.
Finally. Well,
look, the city is sinking, but not before having one more film festival.
City's looking
So, all right, we've got a lot of like all the big movies went to Venice, obviously. Joker, which did astoundingly well last time, didn't get the Golden Bear last time. It got the big award. It won the big one last time, right?
That.
Yes, yeah. So, Golden Lion. Jesus, thank you, Golden Lion. So, Joker 2, Folie à Deux, comes back to Venice, expecting, I'm sure, like a victory lap. Reviews mixed. Mixed coming out of Venice.
Mixed.
Tell me about these reviews.
Well, almost even more than so the reviews were super mixed, but the plot, I think everyone went in, it's Joker, it's going to be a musical, Joker musical with Lady Gaga, okay. And it is that, but apparently it's just very infuriating movie. Like fans of the Joker movie will hate it, Batman fans will hate it, Lady Gaga fans will hate it.
Right.
Everybody that it's designed to appeal to is going to hate it.
It's going to alienate.
It follows Arthur. He's Arthur Fleck, of course, the Joker.
Course.
Sorry, duh. He's institutionalized in Arkham Asylum, awaiting trial for his crimes, and he meets Harleen Quinzel there. And the two characters form a bond through music therapy sessions. Here's what some of the reviews are saying.
Please, lay them on me.
It's startlingly dull, a pointless procedural that seems to disdain its audience. That was lost in Vanity Fair. David Ehrlich really making a meal out of it, and when Ehrlich's on one, he's
this
as
is
good as it gets.
IndieWire's David Ehrlich.
Boring, flat, and such a criminal waste of Lady Gaga
Get him, David.
that we should demand a public hearing. Folie à Deux tries and fails to make a point of our own frustrations with it.
I like Nicholas Barber at the BBC just saying it's definitely not much fun.
Some people liked it.
Yeah, some positive reviews.
Pete Hammond at Deadline said, with song, dance, comedy, darkness, this is a musical.
Right,
if it
he's
even
on
is
Deadline,
a musical,
he's on the
like
payroll.
no
He's on the
other.
payroll. He's
I
on
don't
the
know about
payroll.
that.
He's on the
Gaga's a
payroll.
compelling live wire presence. I mean, and then there's all the chatter.
Yeah, Deadline and the Hollywood Reporter liked it.
So you know what's funny? This is like everything coming out of Telluride, Nickel Boys, everything.
Yes.
Everything coming out of Venice. The buzz is always through the roof. Like you're telling me Saturday Night's going to win Best Fucking Picture. Like
No, I did not. Be nominated.
Everybody.
Fucking 10 pictures get nominated now.
what I'm saying, the people come out of these screenings with the energy of like they just went to they're 8 years old and they just went to their own birthday party, and they're so happy and excited, and all the reviews are amazing. Not Joker, Folie à Deux.
Not Joker.
Fell with the fucking kerplunk. It's still gonna make $1 trillion.
No, it's true. You can often take these reviews with a grain of salt because the reviewers are there and they're like drinking champagne at the same after party as the stars, and they're just swept up in it all. Yeah, I remember. I mean, it's like I don't know, what was that? I don't know what champagne or what they were serving at the Knives Out 2 premiere a couple years ago, but God bless, because I remember the reviews coming out of that premiere were like rapturous.
That's
and it's
Saturday
like,
night.
You're drunk.
That's Saturday night.
You're not. This movie's not good. You're just fucked up right now. All right, let's
Can you believe Joaquin showed face?
Yeah, all right, let's talk about this. Yeah. All right, so a reporter asked Joaquin about something that we've reported on here. I'm saying reported now because that's what we're doing. Reported. We're reporting on these things.
It.
Joaquin dropped out of this Todd Haynes movie. Todd Haynes detective gay romance movie, the best combination of words in the English language. And Joaquin, who was a key part, was responsible for the funding of the movie, drops out a week before they start shooting and leaving the whole project in disarray. Boo. So God bless Screen International journalist Ben Dalton for asking him at Venice, why did you drop out of this movie? What's going on? Now, Phoenix said, if I answer this question, I'll just be sharing my opinion from my perspective, and the other creatives aren't here to say their piece, and it just doesn't feel like that would be right. I am not sure how that would be helpful. I don't think I will answer the question. Now, here's a couple things I want to say, and then you tell me your take. A, based on his history, Joaquin's publicist has got to be thrilled with this answer. What a, for Joaquin, this is like media savvy. This is like somebody went to mandatory media training before they went to Venice. I mean, considering Joaquin's kooky history of Q&A answers, this is Joaquin at poised, he's on good behavior. saying nothing at all, giving no indication. So a rare moment of media savvy from Joaquin. However, if you read between the lines, he's saying quite a bit here, First of all, the other creatives, you're not even going to call them Todd and Christine anymore. You're not on a first name basis anymore. The other creatives, it's a large team, bro. That implies, but you know who he's talking about. That implies some real fissures. That this was not a happy, this was not a amicable divorce. And we also know that because I think we've heard that they might sue Joaquin for this. That there's a lawsuit potentially in the works.
Is pissed, and they're going to sue him.
Good, and he wants to make this. I mean, he wants to come off as being respectful. I don't want to say anything because not everyone's here to say their piece. What he's really doing, though, is pleading the fifth here. He's saying, he's essentially saying, I'm going to avoid any sort of self-incrimination. I'm going to say nothing. And also, I'm not even going to mention the other creatives. So this all feels like, if you read between the lines, this thing was messy and bad and people are pissed. And Joaquin is trying to just sort of do as little as possible in the hopes that this story fades away.
I think you're right. I mean, nothing really to say other than it's a shame we didn't get more details. I really cannot wait for the day until we get the full backstory here after all the
oral
litigation,
history,
after all the lawyers and stuff. We'll get to hear some of the real stuff, and I'd love to hear it. Like I said, why would I be surprised to see him? But it was just he has been kind of hiding since that moment. Here he comes with the whole Joker tour. We're going to see a lot of Joaquin. People say this is really going to affect his career. He's pulled these stunts so many times now, but it sounds like he's always been pulling these stunts. I know this is the stunt.
Not going to affect
this
shit.
Is the stunt at its biggest, but I feel like he'll be producing.
That's why they should sue him, because
ASAP.
The only way this affects him is financially. If they sue him and win for lost. All the money.
We didn't
lost.
pay all the people that worked on it.
Exactly. That's the only way this affects him. Otherwise, no difference. A couple other movies that are getting buzz coming out of Venice. Baby Girl, directed by I don't know how to pronounce her name. Helena Rain, maybe?
Yeah.
She was the director of Bodies.
Yeah, she's talented.
Which was a fun, interesting movie. I think it was a little overhyped, but still a fun, interesting movie, doing some cool stuff. So she's got a new movie coming out with Nicole Kidman, and they're doing, this is the year of the age gap, older woman age gap relationships are hot right now in the movies, and Baby Girl's doing a similar thing. This erotic drama follows Romy Nicole Kidman, a successful CEO, as she embarks on a dangerous affair with a much younger intern, Samuel, exploring power dynamics and sexual shame. Also, Antonio Banderas. Is he getting cucked? Is Banderas the cuck?
I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to watch and find
How
out.
don't you? If they cuck Banderas, I will be pissed.
You have to
I'll
watch
be
and
there
find out.
Day one. So getting very positive reviews, pretty positive reviews, Baby Girl.
Apparently Nicole's amazing, and apparently it really doesn't kind of spend too much time worrying about the like corporate politics, and it's just kind of erotic is kind of
Love
the word
it.
on the
I
street.
like that. Although the movie that's getting the best reviews coming out of the festival season, Venice, etc., the movie that probably has the most momentum going into awards season is Brady Corbett's The Brutalist. This thing is getting rapturous, like generation-defining movie kind of reviews. Now, I feel like every couple years there's a movie like that, and sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. But people are all in for The Brutalist, and considering it's a 215-minute period piece, it wouldn't be getting these reviews if it wasn't the real deal, I think.
I kind of agree. It wasn't just kind of rapturous. It was kind of unanimous. That's The Godfather. That's There Will Be Blood.
Jesus.
I like, this is the great American movie. This is, Once Upon a Time in America for today. I am kind of shocked. Like, I think everyone, I wonder if it's the kind of thing where everybody was shocked and maybe will be disappointed. But I kind of just hope that it's the next There Will Be Blood and it
I never saw Vox Lux. I got to go back and watch Vox Lux because following Vox Lux with The Godfather would be the most amazing like two pictures
it would be really cool. I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah,
215-minute period epic following a Hungarian architect.
Adrian Brody's going to get ready for Brody as a Best Actor frontrunner.
He faces envy, xenophobia, artistic compromises with Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce, who's always a great. We love Guy Pearce.
So if Adrian Brody, I mean, he's really the most versatile.
He's amazing
character actor right now out there. He's really taken the crown. Yeah,
he's always great. You know what I was watching? I watched Predators. After we just watched all the aliens, even in that, he's like
good in
he's
anything.
great.
He's good in anything.
He's always good.
He brings it. Do you think if Adrian Brody wins Best Actor and he comes up on stage, he does a little like, "I'm not gonna kiss you this time"? Because remember, he forcibly kissed.
No. He's a problematic guy. I'm just saying that he's really.
But
do
you think he does like because remember that time when like Beck won a Grammy over Beyonce and Kanye did a fake like Taylor Swift thing where he came up and he's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding." So you think Adrian Brody does like a fake like who they should have like Ann Dowd hand out the award. And they just and then Ann Dowd kisses him.
That sounds good.
That's good. Let me produce the Oscars.
That'd be fun.
Let me produce the Oscars.
I was like mid excited for Brutalist, but after these reviews, it's like, oh, I guess this is the film of the year.
It's the film of the year. That's the word on the street. And wow, Focus Features. So maybe Focus Features have a little comeback.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean they've been steady, but they're not the glory days of way back when, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, etc. Another movie that we were very excited for, Cloud, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's. We talked about Chime, which is his like 40-minute NFT movie.
All my 10 best of the first half of the year.
And I love that. And maybe it would have been on mine, but I said, he's got this feature coming out, Cloud. I want to wait for Cloud. And look, Cloud is getting really good reviews.
No, everyone loved it.
It was Japan's Oscar submission for Best International Film. And I went back and looked. First time Kiyoshi Kurosawa has been Japan's selection for Best International Film.
That's interesting.
So I wonder what that says. If this movie has a little bit more sort of classic sort of prestige to it, or if it's just Kurosawa doing Kurosawa and they finally got around to nominating him.
But he's up to his old tricks. Like this reminds me of
the description's great.
Pulse. He's always sort of interested in how
Pulse-esque.
Technology and horror it kind of comes together. Set in the modern digital age, Cloud follows Ryusuke, an online reseller who profits by flipping goods at inflated prices. As his online hustles grow, so do his enemies, eventually leading to a real-life violence as a vengeful group of disgruntled buyers seeks payback. Scary.
Yes. Let's do it.
It's about internet radicalization by Kurosawa.
Here's what I don't understand, though. No U.S. distributor yet, and thus no U.S. release date. What's going on? Why isn't somebody buying this movie?
It's
in negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay,
it'll get Venice will end in 2 days, and whether it's tomorrow or whether it's in a month and a half.
Okay,
it's just back and forth.
And then finally, probably heard of this movie already, but Queer, the new Luca Guadagnino movie, based on the William Burroughs novel. It's written by the same guy that wrote Challengers. The adaptation's written by the same guy. This follows Daniel Craig in the lead role, who has to flee from a drug bust in New Orleans to 1940s Mexico City. I mean, just William Burroughs shit. You know what it is.
It's the book Queer.
Yes. So Also stars Jason Schwartzman, Leslie Manville. I like that.
Drew
Drogy's in this. Holy shit,
dude!
Good job,
on.
Drew. I like. Look, Daniel is just luxuriating in his post-Bond era. He had that crazy photo shoot where he looked like he was like from the 80s and from the future at the same time. He looked so hip and cool.
He's the coolest.
He's just like hanging out at the Venice press conferences. Luco's his dude. They're just like chilling. They're like, I love this post-Bond Daniel Craig thing. So I'm looking forward to Queer. I know I was not a big fan of Challengers. I like Call Me by Your Name, but I'm looking forward to Queer.
This movie's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait.
They say it's sort of like Call Me by Your Name up top, and then by the end, it's his Suspiria. Like, apparently it's crazy. And look, apparently
and Burroughs gives you that. You can do that with Burroughs.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
This movie apparently is not sent. One of the controversies is this isn't some like nice movie featuring like nice queerness. This is about like a miserable, lecherous twink hunter who fumbles and stumbles his way drunkenly through Mexico City in the 1940s.
That's the sequel to Troll Hunter.
As he grapples with his sexuality, or all the above. I mean, and apparently it's very like graphic, but it's also very beautiful because it's Luca, and apparently Craig's performance is incredible. Like, and then some of the reviews are like, it's sort of meandering and boring. It's like, oh, this is going to be the best.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be fucking good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I mentioned him, but I didn't mention him by name. Justin Kuritzkis is the screenwriter of both Challengers and Queer.
And apparently Starkey, who plays like one of his boyfriends, is just like a knockout supreme. Like, apparently the performances are great. I'm all in.
Can't
This
wait.
is fucking great.
I can't
Come
wait.
on.
I can't wait. Yeah, and the reviews seem to just be like classic Luca, where it's this sort of tension between substance and style. And it's like, is he going to find the right balance of those two things? People are saying this, like, the style is off the charts. It's just very like high stylized, beautiful. But they're saying that he finds
It's heartfelt.
more. Yes, some of that, maybe more of that Call Me by Your Name sort of substance is coming back into the repertoire. I can't wait. A movie that got a under 5-minute standing ovation, which at Venice is like the crowd taking down their pants and defecating on the stage. Under 5-minute standing ovation. Wolves, which we've been talking about. Brad Pitt and George Clooney's Apple cash grab movie. Here's what might be happening though. Okay, is that because another news item came out this week, which is that apparently Ocean's 14 is happening.
Oh,
Ocean's 14
Soderbergh?
is happening, not Soderbergh. Soderbergh said he's done.
Okay.
He
made the
Soderbergh,
perfect
he's
trilogy.
bored. He's like, I did it next.
Sorry, you're right.
But this is very interesting. Apparently, George Clooney and Brad Pitt are like spearheading Ocean's 14. So I wonder if Wolves was like a soft launch of the boys getting back together. They apparently want Edward Berger to direct. That's Edward Berger of Conclave and All Quiet on the Western Front, which Conclave, speaking of Oscar movies, is going to be way up there this year. So they want freaking Edward Berger.
Telluride, Conclave did. I'm getting nervous for my points.
No, it's going to be great.
I hope so.
It's going to be great. So their thinking is that Edward Berger's Conclave's going to be huge. But he's going to have to do all the award season stuff. And he's going to get a little exhausted by sort of prestige art films, and they're going to convince him to knock out Ocean's 14 like over a summer.
Okay.
Could happen. It could happen.
Listen,
it could happen. Nobody's rooting for the Brad Pitt renaissance,
movie.
but or the much less the George Clooney Brad Pitt renaissance. I think we're good there, but who knows? Those guys still have clout. They can probably get this thing done. So in retrospect, Wolves just got them paid $45 million each, and maybe they're going to use it to sort of soft launch, like we still got the old magic.
I mean, that's the only positive thing I've heard out of Wolves, because the reviews coming out of this festival were, it's it's totally fine. They both do their irascible, grump, charming thing for 2 hours at each other. And John Watts, the director of the 3 Marvel Spider-Man movies, just fumbles along.
We're gonna have to watch this movie in a couple weeks.
Well, we don't, because it's just on streaming. Like, aren't we like committed to theatrical distribution?
It's still a feature film.
I'm not gonna fucking buy Apple
film. It's
fucking
at
music.
Venice. We have to watch the fucking thing. We
love it.
Yeah, we're
we
huge.
both dress like
wolves fans.
Yeah, we love wolves. Yeah, it's not wolves. It's wolves.
Do you think? Like, because I'm trying to think, like, how does this get like an under 5-minute standing ovation? Because like George Clooney and Brad Pitt are standing there.
It stunk.
I wonder though. Here's what I think. I bet I have no evidence for this. I could just go watch the video and find out this isn't true. But I think maybe what happened is Clooney did a like,
all right,
all right,
all
right.
You're right, Brett. Okay.
Let's go to the bar. Casamigos on me.
Okay.
It's cool because he knew that it wasn't like everyone's like, I don't know if we can get to 6 minutes with this thing. You know, like I'm already. Yeah, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna
put the kibosh.
I think that's
like
what
that.
happened. Okay. Let's talk about. We wanted to talk about The Apprentice, the Donald Trump movie. Let's talk about it next week because there might be like more news. Because if you know about this new Donald Trump movie that's coming out, and it looks like basically for now, this thing has been in development, really post-production hell, because there's Donald Trump might sue to block the release of it, and no studios wanted any part of it because they're all ultimately these conservative status quo companies that don't want to fuck with powerful people. So there was a lot of hesitation around it. It does finally have a distributor, a release date, full financing. They're also doing a Kickstarter to like supplant the probably the marketing budget.
Yeah, the PR and marketing.
So
it already did its goal.
Wow. So
100K in 2 days.
The Apprentice with Sebastian Stan and what's our
Jeremy Strong.
Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn is going to come out. It's going to come out right before the election. Let's wait until next week to maybe see if there's any more news, because every week this thing has a new news.
We'll be
cycle.
talking about it all the way to awards
exactly.
season. But
yes.
Yeah, so keep an eye
and what is it,
out for
October
Apprentice.
11th. October 11th right now is the release date. We'll see if that happens, or if I don't know if Trump gets an injunction from some Trump lawyer or some Trump judge or something. We'll see. All right, really quickly before we get to Reagan. Neon. I want to talk about Neon because Neon is the new A24, baby. This is the hottest studio on the block this year. They already set a record release with Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, which was their biggest opening ever. They then broke their own record a couple months later with Long Legs. They had Cuckoo this year. They were the North American distributor for La Chimera, one of our favorite movies of the year. They're fucking killing it. We love Neon. And I got to say, Joe, I'm taking a little bit of a victory lap here because you haven't agreed with me on Hitman. I say it's sort of a like under the radar masterpiece. Has so much good stuff in it. One of Richard Linklater's top 5 movies of his career.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And you've been saying stuff like this, and I've also been getting guff from other people. But guess who agrees with me? That would be Neon founder and CEO Tom Quinn, baby. Because Netflix, he had a Hollywood Reporter like interview this week. Let's get to know the CEO of Neon, the hottest studio out there. And he talked for a while about Hitman, which I love. And what he says is that Hitman got bought at TIFF, at the Toronto International Film Festival. It got bought by Netflix for $20 million. But Neon had offered, and then it bought it for $20 million and did a typical Netflix thing. It put it in theaters for 2 weeks and then dumped it on streaming. And all the buzz it had coming out of festival season basically dissipated. And the thing's not going to get any fucking award season nominations. Except I don't even know if it qualifies for an Indie Spirit Award. It probably doesn't because it's Netflix. It won't get anything. Now Quinn's gives some behind the scenes here, and this is very interesting because it talks. It informs a lot of what we've been talking about. What streaming offers these movies or doesn't offer them versus what traditional studios and theatrical releases offer these movies. Quinn says that Neon offered $10 million, which is half of what Netflix was offering, but it was going to do a full theatrical run and Oscar campaigning. So you're only getting $10 million for the movie, but like, how much does distribution and Oscar campaigning, that's another $10 million at least right there. That is an asset to you, that is value to you. So they were offering $10 million plus full theatrical run and Oscar campaigning to get Hitman. And he claims that Neon could have turned Hitman into an Oscar contender, and I believe it. I believe that with a really passionate marketing campaign, a savvy marketing campaign, turning this into Glenn Powell's like awards movie, with how well Twisters did, I think he could have done it. And this is what he says: "We fell in love with Hitman at Toronto, same, but not at Toronto, but same. We absolutely thought Richard Linklater would be an Oscar contender for screenplay and director, and then you have Glenn Powell, who is in an absolute vortex of hyper celebrity in a role I found very classic classic in nature. No one makes movies like this anymore. The film was made for somewhere between 5 and 7 million. We offered 10 million, so that's 3 million profit in your pocket at least out of the gate for U.S. rights only, which would have been a record sale. Yeah. We believe the film would have grossed in excess of 25 million domestically. I think that's a very good prediction, with a chance of doing maybe as much as 40 million. Considering what's happened this summer with Long Legs, I think we would have been proven right. Yeah. Yes. Quinn calls the Netflix deal for Hitman a disappointment for exhibition and goes on to note that Neon would have taken better care of Linkletter's film.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with all of that.
Yes. And he says Hitman was a surprisingly sexy screwball noir from Linkletter. It kept messing with the viewer's head as characters switched identities and lies upon lies got piled up. This guy fucking gets it on Hitman. Pal's shape-shifting performance was no doubt a career booster, but I also must mention Adria Arjona as the femme fatale. She's stunning. Her chemistry with Pal in this film is electric. My dude gets it. I'm all in on Neon, baby. Keep it coming. The new indie powerhouse. They are good for film. They are good for cinema. Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, I'm Brett. Tom Quinn is like my hero. The guy won 5 Palme d'Ors in a row. He's 150% right about the marketability and award season potential for Hitman, and he's totally right about the financial returns. I like Hitman. I just didn't think it was great. I'm not gonna sit here and like play like I disagree with the best studio head in Hollywood, just to appease you. Hitman's good.
All right. Well, the next time Tom and I are out for drinks and we're talking about how great Hitman is, we'll give you a call. We'll put you on speakerphone.
And I'll be like,
it was good. Your whole thing.
Well, I would love to talk
to
him. I would just be like, maybe. I think everything you said was right. 25 million of easy peasy.
He's
Glenn
absolutely
Powell.
right.
I'm not. I agree.
And you still could have put it on streaming afterwards and it would have been fine. All right. That's movie news. You want to talk about Reagan?
No.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, I thought you were going to like launch.
I just need I need a deep breath. I need a deep breath for Reagan. Okay. So Dennis Quaid's Reagan. I'm calling it Dennis Quaid's Reagan. He's just starring.
He's just an actor.
Yes, but he really was not just literally the face of this, but sort of felt like the face of the whole effort and the whole brand. I mean, he's the only person with any sort of remaining movie star Hollywood clout that is associated with this thing. And ironically, I don't think this movie's going to hurt him at all because he looks incredible in the Substance trailer, the Demi Moore movie, where he's playing like a kooky, weird villain guy. He's going to be fine. What do you have any background on Reagan, where this movie came from, how it got made, like what the deal is?
Yeah,
why did Reagan happen? Because this feels like a movie that like isn't even good enough to be on Fox Nation as a TV movie, much less be like in theaters in a pretty, a wide release. Where did this freaking thing come from?
It's been in production since like 2010, Brett, like since 2012. And John Voight, just side note, has been attached the entire time. That's like the only person that's like stayed the course. John Voight plays a Russian spy that actually grows over the years to love Ronald Reagan. Anyway, so he's always been attached to this project, but it's been in just getting funding hell for a very long time. Eventually, Mark Joseph, the producer, who was like a record producer. Actually, Mark Joseph's record producing career, by the way, is so crazy. He worked with like Lauryn Hill, Blink-182, Switchfoot, and Creed, which is why Scott Stapp's in the movie.
That's why he's in the movie.
Yes. Okay.
I knew it was a favor.
Anyway, this guy, Mark
like
Joseph,
when Ed Sheeran showed up in Game of Thrones. I was like, he's just friends with somebody.
Mark Joseph's friends because he produced.
Okay, that makes
Creed
so much
album.
sense. Yeah. More on that later.
It took forever to get the funding together because movies are very expensive, and this is very niche media. There's always been a market of conservative films. Right now, me and Brett are always talking about sort of the Christian rights entertainment wing,
right? And
that's prolific. But before that, there's always been conservative films, like the Dinesh D'Souza and Steve Bannon's movies and all of that stuff. Like, there's always been a market for this kind of thing. It just took forever to put the pieces together.
And you get John Voight, Kevin Sorbo, people
Kevin
like
Dillon.
That. Kevin Dillon popping up in this.
You do.
So
all that's to say is like it was a labor of love for weird Mark Joseph, the No Safe Spaces, PragerU, Adam Carolla guy. And they really wanted to believe in this. They really wanted the Reagan project up, and they finally got it together. And Showbiz Direct did the distribution, and here we are.
And Reagan is It's like, oops.
Actually, you know what? One more thing I remember.
I ain't got the riz to go to the Diz. My glasses just
No,
fell
you
apart
don't
on the
have
live
the riz.
stream.
Hold on, wait, sorry. One more thing I just remembered was
please.
like Mark Joseph was at home and he watched remember that 2-part documentary during COVID, The Reagans?
Yes, I do.
That lit like a tremendous fire under his
Because that was
apparently.
critical. That was a critical.
It was like sort of critical.
Okay, yeah.
A sort of critical.
It was just
look.
the facts.
He saw that and that
yeah.
reignited his passion. He was like, no, we have to tell the Gipper's tale true.
Because this movie is the simplest way to put it is just like unapologetically propaganda.
Sorry, just to be very clear, this
yeah.
movie is a beat for beat greatest hits collection of Reagan's moments performed by Dennis Quaid for 2.5, which seemed like 5,500 hours.
It's
right,
a
Brett?
movie
Like,
for Reagan fanboys to stand up and go, yes.
It's just all you see, all of it. Like, oh yeah, he did the microphone line at the debate. He's eating jelly beans.
Right.
Oh, he left a note for his weird
He's
wife
wearing the
on
cowboy
mirror.
hat.
Oh, he's wearing the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Oh, he got Alzheimer's. The whole thing.
Yeah. It's not just, and look, it's not just a bad movie. It is like a cheap looking movie. This movie is held together by tape. It is, there's certain scenes where I'm like, did you mean to have that in the movie? Like, I think you should have, like, there's stuff that just feels like mistakes.
It doesn't even feel like
the cast is so low rent. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's why I think it got its worst reviews from these stalwart conservative, like old fashioned news sources like the National Review, is because it was like in trying to be this hagiography of Ronald Reagan, it was so cheap that it came off as this like cheap, tawdry tribute to Ronald Reagan, and not like a sophisticated, like not like this, not like the deserving tribute that this great man deserves, So it's like, it's not just bad in propaganda. It's so cheap and low rent. It really feels like one of these like God is not dead Fox Nation TV movies.
Right.
It feels like at that level, but it's also like a big 2.5 hour Reagan biopic. Like it's a big old biopic. It's so bad and so cheap that it ends up the effect of the movie, and this is also what I think pissed off National Review. It does the opposite of what it's trying to do. And I'm not going to give the movie credit for anything I'm about to say, because the movie's trying to do the opposite. It's trying to be a glowing Reagan biopic. But what it actually creates is this like devastating satire of this guy that like can't even get like a proper like full prestige Hollywood biopic. The movie's like accidentally avant-garde at times in how bizarre and like the cheapness becomes this sort of like bizarre surrealism at times, where you feel like you're watching a movie mocking Ronald Reagan sometimes, because of how like sort of empty and silly and cheap the praise is and the glory is. It's often like very unintentionally very funny.
Yes.
Scott Stapp is Frank Sinatra being a prime example, which we'll talk
Didn't
about.
realize it happening.
And in the midst of all this chaos, the movie is like crumbling in on itself at all times. You also have Dennis Quaid trying to give like an Oscar performance. Like Dennis Quaid is going so hard in the middle of all of this cheapness. Dennis Quaid is going so hard, and I think was like, I might sneak an Oscar nom out of this. Like he's like, why would you put that much effort as an experienced actor if you did? Like he
had nights where he thought that.
He's trying to do the physical mannerisms. I mean, he ends up looking like Stan Laurel with like lockjaw, but he's like trying to do the like Reagan mannerisms. He really tried to immerse himself in the character and give like a big prestige performance, which makes the whole effect of the movie even more surreal and bizarre. I'm gonna list, Joe, if you don't mind,
please.
And feel free to cut me off at any time. Okay. But I just want to like list some things that happen in the movie Reagan. These are just some things that happen in Reagan, just to give you an idea. Because look, none of you should see this movie. None of you are going to see it. So let me just tell you some things that happen in this movie, and we can all just sort of have fun, thinking about this. Number one, they're in when Reagan is still like a Hollywood actor. There's a scene in the Coconut Grove. Classic. So many scenes that are just like the cheapest version of like a classic scene. So this is the scene like in a 1940s Hollywood movie where all the actors are at the Coconut Grove. And then in the background, you hear this like lounge singer singing. And then like Reagan is at the table with Dalton Trumbo, and he's like going back and forth with Dalton Trumbo. And they just give the most like insulting depiction of Dalton Trumbo as this like whiny little loser and hypocrite. And then in the background, you're hearing this like lounge song, and then they hard cut hard cut to someone who is just unmistakably Scott Stapp from Creed in like a fancy little 1940s suit with his hair slicked back, and he's singing some sort of 1940s standard, and then they cut away just as quickly. And this cut is like they cut to him and he's ready for his close up. He's just mugging for the camera singing, and it's clearly Scott Stapp from Creed. And then they cut away and they keep going on with the scene, and they never come back to him at all. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, that's funny. But I was like, I thought he was like supposed to play Frank Sinatra in this movie. And they don't cut back to him. And so, and again, I was the only person in my theater. I got on my phone, I go on IMDb, and I was like, I expected to see the credit as like Scott Stapp, Coconut Grove singer. It says Scott Stapp, Frank Sinatra. I was like, okay. The movie doesn't identify him as Frank Sinatra.
I had no idea.
They don't say the words Frank Sinatra. Nope. He's just Scott Stapp singing like lounge songs.
Like maybe
in
it's
the
Fly Me
Coconut
to the
Grove.
Moon. Maybe it's Cole Porter. Like,
it's not, but it's not
recognizable.
It's not a super recognizable Frank Sinatra. I can't remember what it is, but it's some standard. It's some like 40 standard. They never say Frank Sinatra. They never cut back to him. They never make a point about being Frank. Like he doesn't stop by the table afterwards and it's like, "Hey, Ronnie, you should be president." You know, there's none of that.
Right, I know.
It's like they just were like, "Yeah, he's like it's like they told Scott Stapp, yeah, well, you'll be Frank Sinatra," but then they were like, we can't like give Scott a scene in the movie where he like acts like Frank Sinatra. They didn't make any effort to like make him look like Frank Sinatra.
He looks nothing like Frank Sinatra. He's not dressed like, you know, at the wee small hours of the evening.
No,
he's got like a hat on.
Doesn't have a
doesn't
fedora.
look anything like him.
It looks. Look, I put a photo of it on our Instagram at Movies Baby. It's just Scott Stapp in a white suit. Okay,
he looks like
and
Richard Cheese.
They just and they're like Frank Sinatra. This is Frank Sinatra, but only in the credits, not in the movie. It is, and again, the movie doesn't get credit for this. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a movie. That like they just cast Scott Stapp as Frank Sinatra, but then didn't say he was Frank Sinatra in the movie. It's kind of amazing. There's a frame narrative to the movie. There's like this overarching narration, and it's really, really great. Jon Voight,
it's so good.
Jon Voight, who they de-age depending on when you see him.
So weird.
Jon Voight, who just also they de-age him, but he only does one move in the movie where he looks like fearfully concerned. Like every time they cut to him, he's just like, I don't know. That's his only look.
Yeah,
he is Russian. He's an aging KGB agent who opposes Reagan. He was one of Reagan's, like he was KGB while Reagan was doing his evil empire stuff. But God damn it, does he respect Reagan? He respects Reagan. And so he's a younger protege, a younger Soviet agent comes to him to like get intel on Reagan.
Well, no.
Thank
Brett,
you. Please.
Excuse me. He comes to ask him, if you cared so much about mother country,
thank you.
How could you let Soviet Union collapse?
That's what it is. And
his answer is 2.5 hours long.
Yes.
But TLDR, the answer is Ronnie Reagan, which is historically not true.
Not remotely true. They just like ran out of money because they
like
just
18 million things happen.
The fucking the missile race and
just
everything.
18
they just
million
ran out of money.
things
yes,
happen.
And 18 million
years.
things happen. Yes. So, but it wasn't because Reagan was like, "You tear down that wall.
Tear down the wall."
The Soviet Union wasn't suddenly like, "Oh shit."
Nice moment of political marketing.
But according to this movie and Jon Voight's narration, this is why the USSR collapsed. It's because
like Reagan was so charming.
The narration
that's basically what it
basically says, we thought the USSR would live forever. But then it's almost like biblical because he's like,
but then there was one.
A chosen one arose in the West, a man whose ingenuity and willpower exceeded even the best of us.
Not know.
This man was born to destroy the Soviet Union, and we had no defense against him, no defense against this great man of history, Ronald Reagan.
We could put all of the guns in this is my Jon Voight Russian impression, all the guns in the world, but he had heart.
And then crossfade into like boy Reagan in church.
Beaten by his parents.
I have never. This is where the movie is like, why are you pushing your luck this much? The movie also, besides trying to like rescue the reputation of Ronald Reagan or like enshrine the reputation of Ronald Reagan, it also weirdly tries to rescue the reputation of Warner Brothers president Jack Warner. Like famously one of just the epic shitheads of the studio age.
History's biggest asshole.
The guy who made like Betty Davis's life hell and just like from the Louis B. Mayer era. Just all those guys were just the worst. They were the worst. They were monsters. For some reason, this movie casts Kevin Dillon from Entourage as Jack Warner. And you know it's Jack Warner because he's got that little pencil-thin mustache, baby. And they present Jack Warner, the only time I've ever seen this, as this like sort of pragmatic good guy. This guy who was just trying to like, I just want to like bring everybody to the bargaining table. The liberals in Hollywood, the conservatives. Let's just keep this picture business going, baby, because it's like we got a good thing going here, and we got to be honest about this. And I'm just a normal guy. I just have normal needs and desires. I'm not a complete fucking weirdo and maniac.
Well, his thing is
why.
Whatever. I'm going to try to explain the rationale
Please.
for the movie. But like the movie, first of all, the movie is like you're living in the head of a crazy person, like a psychopath. Fox News
up is
viewer,
down is up.
But like it's one who has been sort of injected with Percocet or something. Like it's someone's like zen. It's like a zenned out sound bath for a conservative psychopath.
That's it.
And it's just sort of all washing.
They just
over
luxuriate
you.
it.
It's just washing over you, sort of the affect. But what the pieces
Jack,
I put together.
I knew Jack Warner was really a good guy.
When Ronald Reagan was the head of SAG. And Jack Warner was in charge of Warner Brothers, obviously. Two different sides of the bargaining table, right? But they had a common cause: their hatred of commies,
right?
Which is the way that this movie treats,
like Hollywood liberals.
Like the second Red Scare in Hollywood is atrocious. Like we, like school children, everyone knows. Joe McCarthy was overzealous in his attacking
Joe.
of Hollywood liberals.
No, Joe. These Hollywood radicals got way out of hand.
In this movie, you think that there actually was some sort of communist cabal in Hollywood.
They literally say like Soviets were infiltrating Hollywood to like to influence the movies through like Dalton Trumbo and Hollywood liberals.
It's insane.
Yeah,
and by the way, Trumbo, Brett's being very like cerebral about it. Like if you don't know who that is or wasn't paying attention, like you would just think like, oh, a queer-coded man who's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, like, it's not like it's some like great, it's like just like very like, oh, the what do they call it? Cultural Marxist left and their queer allies trying to bring communism and redness.
And meanwhile,
up from the bottom up. But luckily, Jack Warner and Ronald Reagan were there to kind of hash it out backstage.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like what actually happened is that Ronald Reagan got made president of SAG, and then he sold out his colleagues for studio interests. He sold them out for the money.
That's why he was talking to Jack Warner.
Yes, which is the defining aspect of his entire career, is that what we'll talk about, is that he is a stooge. He, unlike this movie presents him as, I love when he's like researching communism at night in his house.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
oh, my
it's
God.
Like, he's just a puppet. He's
he
just
was like
fucking
there's
stooge.
one part when he's like out of work and they portray him as a voracious reader who can't learn enough about the Reds.
Yeah. Now, Nancy Reagan's depiction in this movie, obviously they don't depict Nancy as the blowjob queen of Hollywood. They make her this sort of like, spunky, quirky, straight talking, soulmate for Ronald Reagan. But they are, by the end of the movie, they've kind of like unintentionally nailed the essence of Nancy Reagan. I think in trying to make her like, the movie's trying to make her just this like Reagan, this icon of American history. But in doing so, they expose what I think is like the core of Nancy Reagan, which is just this like, the only thing that mattered was enabling Ronald Reagan to like live out his like cosplay fantasies of being a cowboy, of being an alpha man, of being the only guy in the room who knows the deal, right? All Nancy Reagan lived to do was enable those fantasies, and as a result, be the whatever you want to say, the Lady Macbeth behind the scenes, and sort of become the powerful person via Ronald Reagan being out there in public. But she does everything she can in this movie. There's so many scenes where like doctors and different people will come, like professionals will come to her and be like, we need to like after Ronald Reagan gets shot, like you can't see him right now because he's about to die and he needs space, and she's like, no, I've got to see my cowboy lover, and she like rushes into the the operating room is like, Ronald! And he does some quip, which never happened
yeah,
in
he
real
was like,
life. No, in real life, he's like,
I'll get him next time, baby.
In real life, his blood is like filling his lungs and he's shitting himself.
Yeah, right.
But so there's all these scenes though where Nancy Reagan just like
I'll lick him next time.
Yeah, steamrolls. She steamrolls just like normal pragmatic advice from professionals in order to live the fantasy life that her and Ronald Reagan are actors. All they want to do was live this like cosplay fantasy life of being these sort of visionary cowboy independents who took over America and made it right again or whatever.
Yeah,
and she does throughout the movie is try to enable that to happen against all logic and reason. Now that's not what the movie's trying to do, but I felt like unintentionally the movie sort of presents like a sort of realistic depiction of Nancy Reagan almost against its own will or almost without knowing that it's doing so. She just came
charitably,
off as very
like, they succeeded. Like,
selfish and
they
narcissistic.
did it. They did live their fantasy
Yes.
life. Like they won all the way to the finish line, and her job was curating the mystique of Reagan and putting him in the right clothes and
running
him
the
out.
country for the last 2 years of his presidency.
Absolutely,
yeah,
that's fine.
And
Ronald was so important and doing such a good job. Let Nancy run the country.
here's some other things that happen in this movie. There's a scene about halfway through the movie where a Secret Service agent is recruited to be Ronald Reagan's horse riding partner on his ranch. You remember this scene?
Brett, of course. Of course.
So, and it's a full scene. It's a longish scene where some head up guy takes this Secret Service agent aside, and we get to learn the Secret Service agent's whole background, how he rode horses in upstate New York or some fucking place, right? Or outside of Boston or something. And he's like, I know horses well. And the guy's like, all right, none of the other Secret Service agents can keep up with Ronnie on the trails because Gipper's a hell of a horse rider, baby, and nobody else can keep up with him. We need you to get in. We need a real horse rider to ride with Ronnie on the trails. And so this guy's like, all right, I'll do it. That character then disappears for an hour and a half, like to the point where I was like, did they forget that they had that scene? There are scenes of Ronald Reagan after that. There are scenes of Reagan riding his horse on his ranch, and that guy is not in the scene. And I was literally like, why did you have this whole scene where this guy agrees to be Reagan's horse riding partner, and then you show Reagan riding horses without this guy? I was like, did you forget? But then,
Okay,
all right,
it was him.
Yes.
Okay.
But then the last 5 minutes,
okay.
the reason they set this guy up comes back in full force is because
hours later.
This poor Secret Service agent who knows how to ride horses is tasked with like the hardest project in the entire movie, which is telling Nancy Reagan that her husband has dementia, which she is like trying to like not admit to. Because this guy is like he's been out riding with Reagan.
Okay.
This is the
sad. Last 7 minutes of the movie. All of a sudden,
it's
like sure it was melodramatic, but like I was borderline like crying. Like dementia and Alzheimer's is so difficult to deal with. So like all of a sudden I've just been like fuming for 2.5 hours, and then all of a sudden at the end it's like, oh wait, this is like very human all of a sudden. Like this Reagan has no idea where he is. Like it's sad as shit.
This is why I'm gonna have the tone that I have with this. Is because look, nothing sadder and more traumatic and sad than dementia and Alzheimer's.
But it was a little silly.
The movie though tries. The movie can't admit weakness for Reagan, and so the way the movie tries to like power through his dementia and maintain his alphaness is fucking crazy.
I thought it was little sweet almost.
Wow,
Brett, I'm not saying it was good.
Right.
I just like the whole topic really is so sad.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Particularly if that's
sad.
a theme that you have a real personal context for,
so
it will
much,
kill you.
right.
Just the mention of it. Well, it's like us. It's like anytime there's like a kid in a movie or parent kid thing in a movie, I like immediately I'm on edge.
Everything you're about to say is true, and I'm saying is that is the saddest topic, man.
It is.
I cannot deal with
I'm going to give you the facts of how this movie, Reagan, unrelated to the realities of dementia and Alzheimer's, the way this movie deals with this, right? So they bring back this fake character that they introduced in one scene and then forgot about. They bring this fake character is the one that has to like convince, not Reagan's doctors, not his associates. Everyone is lying to themselves around Reagan, and Nancy most of all. And so this Secret Service agent has to go to Nancy and be like, hey, I don't think we should let Ronald ride the horses anymore because he's fallen off the horse
So
and he's
sad.
steering into nowhere, and he's talking, he can't maintain a train of thought. And then Nancy, of course, is like, no, you can't take the horses away from Ronnie. He loves riding those fucking horses. He's going to ride those horses, and for the rest of time, he's going to live forever.
I'm going to cry.
Death is not real. If you take Ronnie off the horse, I'm going to take your head off your shoulders, you bitch.
Nancy
She's
was a
yelling
good
at this
wife.
guy, right? She's like, no,
Nice.
Ronnie rides the horses. That's what Ronnie does. And the horse guy's like, he's going to die if he keeps riding the horses, and there's nothing I could do to stop it. And she's like, all right, we'll leave it up to Ronnie.
Okay, wait.
And I was like,
this
no,
this is
you
true.
don't leave it up to Ronnie.
This is true. Okay, wait. That's so funny. Do you want to go on or
Yes, I'm going to keep going.
Tell
Okay,
them what happens next.
But, all right.
This is the end of the movie.
And so then this is the end of the movie. So he then has this poor Secret Service agent. Again, not
This part's
Ronald,
so-
not
yeah.
the doctors, not his family. The Secret Service agent, who's a fake character in the movie, whose only purpose is this plot point, has to walk out to Ronald Reagan, who's out like pretending to chop wood outside. It's just George Bush moving brush.
It's like the Will Ferrell
it's-
joke.
yes.
From
It's like, this fence is fixed now. So it's Ronald Reagan with his cowboy hat, cosplaying as a cowboy, and this actual cowboy has to go out there and be like, "Sir, I don't think we should ride horses together." He's like breaking. It's like his horse buddy is breaking up with him. I don't think we should ride horses anymore. Like, oh, why is that? And then Dennis Quaid.
Tip O'Neill said.
Dennis Quaid in what I will look. Dennis Quaid's still a good actor.
Quaid
Quaid nails this scene.
I haven't said my piece on Quaid yet. No, yeah.
Quaid nails. He does like 8 different things in this little shot.
He makes this moment work, and I got
too
sad,
good.
Brett.
All right, I'll give you that because that one Quaid moment is too good for the movie.
Wait, so tell him what happens.
all right,
I keep.
So then Quaid, he looks at him, he goes. So basically, Quaid, like even through the beginnings of dementia, understands what's being said to him and acknowledges that it's true. And then he finally, and so you see him go through this wave of emotions, and then he turns to the Secret Service agent and he goes, "One more ride." And the Secret Service agent is like, "Okay, one more ride."
Tears
All right, stop.
immediately.
And then you get this crazy scene that ends the movie where Ronald Reagan, with this Dennis Quaid plasters the biggest, dumbest smile on his face. He gets on that horse for one last ride, and he rides off alone into the darkness of dementia, but it is presented as like the hero, the conquering hero on
John
one
Denver
last
starts
ride.
playing.
John Denver's Country Roads
Yep.
comes on,
Yep.
right? Which is such a funny choice because
It
in
is.
my head I was like, this song is like very specifically about West Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, are they gonna like avoid the West Virginia lyrics? No. They're just like, as Ronald Reagan is riding off of like Ronald Reagan, and I went back and looked because I was like, did I miss something? Ronald Reagan has no relation to the state of West Virginia, but like as he's riding off on his one last ride before the darkness of time overtakes him, they play Country Roads, and like the song swells and he's riding, and it's like, "To country roads, take me home, West Virginia." And I was like, what? West Virginia has nothing to do with any of this.
Nothing.
Why any song? But like they were so sold on Country Roads that they had to play it. And then at the very end, you knew it was coming. Freeze frame, slow zoom on Ronald Reagan's face on
So
one
good.
last ride. And then, Joe, maybe the craziest move in the whole movie, cut to credits. What do they play side by side with the credits? Reagan's funeral. Basically in real time, you watch news footage of Reagan's casket. Margaret Thatcher weeping over this casket. Oh, Thatcher's never cried in her life until Ronald Reagan died. Her big old just bear tears, just not even like normal human moisture, just coming out of her eyes and just dousing this casket. And then Nancy Reagan like crying over his casket. This is all side by side with like Robert Davi, Kevin Sorbo, Scott Stapp as Frank Sinatra.
apparently.
And meanwhile, Nancy's like, I love you, Dutch. I'll always.
So weird.
It's
This
the movie's
movie's so
the movie's
weird.
crazy.
We're going to talk later, and
Yeah.
I won't go on and on. We're going to talk later about Oliver Stone's Nixon.
Oh, I can't
and
wait.
Oliver Stone is a
I gotta
famous
pace myself.
leftist who is, of course, making a movie about Nixon, like an arch conservative. But it's an adult making a movie, so it's all about how bad Nixon was. But then there's like a human element to him, and it sort of challenges Stone's own perception sometime of the man. Like in Reagan, there's like whatever the opposite of the ability to interrogate your own desires is. It's like the Reagan is just, there's not a single question mark about this man's ability to perform the act of politician well, or like be a good president or help people. Like the movie has nothing. There's no like, but sometimes Reagan, the president of America, which means that this person is inherently flawed with lots of interesting details about the bad things they did. This movie's completely just totally uninterested in that. And I think you could have had a loving Reagan movie about your favorite guy, Ronnie Reagan, with a little undercurrents of any sort of darkness, but without that, Brett, this whole entire movie just feels like it's made for like empty brain, weird children.
It's such a MAGA era movie because it is the biggest admission of defeat is when you are terrified to admit any weakness about the people that you admire.
So weird, right? Exactly.
It's like the movie cannot even present him as human. It's so
weird.
Terrified to present any of these characters as human. Everything is just like meme after meme about like Ronald Reagan like owning the libs essentially over and over and over and over again. Here's a couple of things that happen in this movie if you can abide them. Reagan's first like big inner sanctum meeting with like the Republican power structure, and they're like, then in all these classic Reagan lines, they're like, "Why did you leave the Democratic Party, Ron?" And Ron goes, "I didn't leave the Democratic Party. They left me." Ha ha, chuckles all around the room. Followed by this question, "So why do you want to campaign for Goldwater?"
Yeah, I know. Right,
I was like, they left me. He was never a liberal. He's a far-right radical Republican.
They left me. It's like, the Democrats left you because they started supporting the Civil Rights Act. It's because the Southern Democrats, like the racists, are over now. That's why the party left you.
Yeah, Nixon utilized the Southern strategy. Reagan was like dyed-in-the-wool Southern strategy. The Southern strategy defines his whole approach to politics. But it was just so funny that it's like, he's like, "I left the Democratic Party because they weren't, pragmatic or whatever," and they're just campaigning for Goldwater, like whatever. So, the scene with the student protesters in Berkeley,
oh my gosh,
is crazy.
They really skip over a lot of stuff in this movie. And
I love also the heckler. Sorry, real quick. There's a heckler at Berkeley when Reagan gets out of the car, and what does the heckler say? He doesn't say like what a heckler would actually say, which is like, "Suck dick, you fascist." He says, "Hey, Governor Reagan, make love, not war, man." And then Reagan has some like gross sort of like response to that.
"I made love to your mother last night."
Yeah, something along those lines, and everyone laughs, and you're supposed to laugh in the theater. At one point, he's trying to bargain with like the university chancellor or whatever, and he doesn't like how it's going. He goes, "I've had enough of this. I'm calling in the National Guard," i.e., I'm going to fucking kill these kids.
Right, which happens and then famously bombs Berkeley. None of that's in the movie. Just his
just
toughness, his tough talk against
Ronnie against these indulgent student activists. There's a later scene where a guy that looks like little baby Billy from the Righteous Gemstones and is a preacher like holds hands with Ron and Nancy around their like shitty little outdoor pool and like prays with them, and he looks in Ronald's eyes and he says, "God wants you to be president one day." And Ronald's like, "Fuck." And then Nancy's like, "Fuck." And the movie doesn't intend this, but once again, it's literally like the first scene in Macbeth where the witches are like, "You're going to be president." But they don't think that that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. And then later, Nancy is like, that preacher is kind of a kook, but he's on to something. And then she looks Ronald in the eyes and she goes, "You might need to save us." The scene, Joe. It happens quickly, but it's very funny. The scene where Reagan is on TV and he's doing his like, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" speech, and it cuts to like working class people like stopping what they're doing and watching it. Right? It cuts to three scenes of like working class people being like, "This guy's on to something." The scenes that they cut to are so cheap looking. It's like shocking. There's the first scene they cut to is like cooks in like a kitchen, and they have like fancy cooks outfits on. It looks like a supply closet. It looks like our Forever Dog supply closet over here. It is so cheap, and they like I was also like, well, don't make them look like French chefs. If this is your set, make them look like short order cooks. But they make them look like fucking Michelin star chefs in the cheapest looking, not a kitchen set ever. And then they cut to like a barber, and it looks like it's like somebody's bedroom in a apartment. Like it's like not a barber shop. And then they finally cut to a bar, and all the people at the bar turn around, and it's again like not, the shots are so close to like avoid showing you the wide, shot, but these sets are so cheap. They're held together with tape. It's insane. There's a lot of Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan nostalgia, which I realized for the first time. Everyone's like, your dad's like nostalgia for like, that's when guys like, they didn't take politics too seriously and they would have a beer after it and laugh over everything. I realized that nostalgia boils down to a pretty like perverse thought, which is like, hey, isn't it great that the two most powerful politicians in America think that life is one big fucking game? Like, and they don't really give a shit about any of this. Isn't that fun and refreshing? Shouldn't we go back to that? The Iran hostage return is because Iran was scared of Reagan, not because he like prearranged a deal with them before the election illegally. That's not mentioned. Much like the Reagan Library out in Simi Valley, this movie makes a meal out of the Hinckley assassination attempt. Oh my God. It doesn't make a meal out of that. There's one shot of Colin Powell slamming down a telephone in like a war room meeting. There's a shot of Colin Powell slamming down a telephone, and the shot lingers on him as though he's about to say something, perhaps of importance. And the only reason I know it's Colin Powell is because he has a little badge that says Powell on it, and he's one of the only black characters in the entire movie. He slams down a phone, and it like stays on his close-up, and then it just cuts away from him and never goes back to him.
Okay.
Colin Powell does not have a line in the movie, although there's a shot that implies that he was supposed to have a line.
They cut it.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I have a couple more things. Margaret Thatcher. The Margaret Thatcher performance is so fucking funny in this movie. Margaret Thatcher is portrayed by Leslie Ann Down, who has done a lot of. Immediately, I was like, oh, she's like does BBC period soap operas, because she does Margaret Thatcher so over the top, so operatic, so deferential to Reagan. At one point, when Reagan does his big Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall speech, which is like built up to with
the climax of the movie.
The climax of the movie. It's built up to with so much fucking anticipation and energy. And then after he says, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, they have like 3 cutaways like to reaction shots. His speechwriters like pumping their fists in the air, Nancy smiling, and it cuts to Margaret Thatcher. And she goes, well done, cowboy.
Cool. There's a lot of Margaret Thatcher, Reagan palling around in the film.
You're kind of like, are these two gonna fuck?
That's their thing.
What's the vibe?
It's the will they won't they of Thatcher, Reagan.
All right, Joe. I have one more thing to say about Reagan.
Go for it.
All right, please. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna put Reagan to sleep, and we'll never talk about it again.
Well, I'll talk about
it. We'll talk about it quite a bit. This whole goldfish thing.
Oh yeah.
This to me sums up again. It's the movie like not knowing what it's doing.
Yeah, this is
it
a good moment to
sums
talk
up
about.
Reagan. It sums up Reagan to me and Nancy in a nutshell. So basically, this is a true story about when Ronald Reagan went to Geneva in the 1980s, and he was going to have his first ever meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev. And old neutral Switzerland, right? They're going to have it on neutral ground in Geneva, on the shores of Lake Geneva. He's going to meet with Gorbachev for the first time. This is a true story. The villa that he was staying in for this summit belonged to this guy, Prince Karim Aga Khan. Now, this guy and his children moved out of this villa temporarily so that Reagan and Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan could stay there for this summit, okay? Now, the only condition for them staying at this villa was that the youngest child, who was 10 years old, had a goldfish. And they just asked, their only condition was like, you can stay here for free. Beautiful villa on the shores of Lake Geneva. You just need to feed this goldfish every day. And Ronald Reagan saw this in like the welcome note, and he's like, I'll do it.
I'll feed
this goldfish. This is the reason I'm here in Lake Geneva. I'm going to feed this goldfish every day, and I won't let it die come hell or high water. Cut to 10 days later, he completely forgot about the goldfish and is just floating upside down dead in the bowl. And he's like, oh, damn it. I forgot about the goldfish, Nancy. I forgot to feed the goldfish, and now it's dead. And Nancy is like, just the coldest person in the earth. Nancy immediately is like, just buy a new goldfish. This kid won't know the difference. And then Ronald goes, no, Nancy. Every little boy knows their goldfish. Every boy knows their goldfish. And I was like, what? That's not even folksy, or that's not even a thing that every boy knows their goldfish. And Ronald goes, you know what? I'm going to write this boy a note. And he's supposed to be like meeting with Gorbachev.
Come on, Gorbachev.
And they're like, come on, this is the big meeting with Gorbachev. You got to go, Ronald.
It's happening right now.
No. I'm going to write this boy a note about how I killed his goldfish. I'm going to write him a note. And,
okay, but do it after, because we got to talk to the Soviet Union to end the Cold War, please.
It has to happen now. I'm going to write this note about this goldfish I killed to this little boy. I'm going to do it right now, because I'm Ronald Reagan, and I'm definitive, and I decide things, and I have integrity. And the his like assistant and Nancy, they look at each other and they go, that's Ronald. And Nancy literally goes, that's my Ronnie. Like it's a sitcom. Ronnie. She goes, that's my Ronnie. That's my Ronnie. And then Ronald Reagan sits down and he starts to write this note to this boy about killing his goldfish because he totally forgot to feed it for the last 10 days.
Sorry, I was trying to end the Cold War.
It like zooms in on Ronald writing this note, and the message, and then it shows Nancy like smiling at him lovingly. And the movie thinks that it's telling you, look at these salt of the earth people with their integrity, that even in the midst of these geopolitical battles, they'll stop to write a thoughtful letter to a little boy. When it's like, you fucking killed the goldfish. You did this. You're the ones that did that. You're not the heroes of this story. The movie in this moment, honestly, and this is why I think this is actually like a fantastic satire of Reagan hidden in the guise of a propaganda movie about how good Reagan was, is because this scene gets at the essence of Reagan. Is that Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan were incapable of not thinking of themselves as like the heroes of every situation and as like the best people in the room, the only ones with like the common sense and the integrity, et cetera, where it's like, you assholes had one job to do. You could have easily assigned this to one of your staff to feed this goldfish one. You know how hard it is to kill a fucking goldfish, starve a goldfish to death?
They simply should have not have accepted responsibility for it.
They should have either not accepted responsibility or passed it on to somebody else. But instead, they ignored.
Or where was his hand? Like, why did they let him do this?
Thank you. And this is all real. This is a real story. This is in like Reagan biographies, okay? This is the essence of the Reagans, is that they center themselves in every narrative and they turn other people's suffering that they're responsible for into heroism, into their own heroism. That is like sociopathic levels of narcissism, that after like killing this goldfish from neglect, it's just such a dumb little crime, like such a dumb thing that would have been so easy to not do. They sit there and Nancy's like smiling at him lovingly as he writes this letter to this little boy. And Joe, I actually have a copy of the letter here. I found it online, what he wrote to the little boy, if I can read it out loud.
Sure.
Dear little boy, I killed your fucking goldfish. Fuck you, Dutch.
Jesus.
Crazy.
He wrote that?
Crazy that he wrote that and left that for the boy.
That's even worse than just getting a replacement goldfish. That's mean. I can't believe he wrote that. It's crazy.
All right.
Damn.
But honestly, watching that scene, I was like, this is, you couldn't come up with satire like this. Like it's like this is the essence of these two absolute soulless monsters, is this goldfish scene.
Folks, truth stranger than fiction sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
And you know what? That's just the facts here with the Reagan movie. My 2 cents is, I thought Quaid, despite it all, charming and handsome.
No, Quaid. Look,
that's my review.
Quaid comes away unscathed.
Unfortunately, I walked out. I walked out feeling nothing different at all about Dennis Quaid, other than wow. Here's my actual thought about him in this movie was wow, he looks great.
No, yeah,
doesn't he?
And
he looks great.
He looks great. He looks incredible in the trailer for The Substance, which is gonna be fun as hell.
I love Dennis Quaid. He looks great.
He comes away completely unscathed.
I don't think it was a good performance in the sense that he sounded and walked like Ronald Reagan, but it was a bad performance in the sense that like there's not just the character was thin.
He's just contributing.
The character was thin.
He's just playing
movie.
Ronald Reagan in a Ronald Reagan propaganda movie. So there's like that's the bad
That's the
part
limitation.
of it. But like I was like, oh, Dennis Quaid is coming to work.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, he's just like, what's the character I'm playing? Yeah. I mean, look, we know that his sympathies lean right, and I'm sure he was pumped to do this and was,
obviously.
but like,
yes, he doesn't,
but just to be honest, when you're watching the movie, like
great.
you don't put it on Dennis Quaid, you put it on like the insane creators and writers of this movie.
Like, dude, honestly, minus like the extremes.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in being mad at actors for their political views. I want my actors to be fucking weird. I want them to like not be human. I want them to be oddballs. I want them to have opinions that are completely and totally inappropriate. I want them to like not get vaccinated. I want them to be fucking insane people. I really do, because that is when we get the good stuff. I don't want our actors becoming like really smart and savvy and understanding what they're supposed to say when and having normal opinions and stuff. I need them weird. Need them weird, baby. Keep them weird.
All right. Speaking of weird, let's finish this up by, I want to pick just off the top, I'll list them out here. The top 5 weirdest like performances / casting choices in Reagan. All right. The top 5 like weirdest casting choices.
Mm-hmm.
I think at 5 I would put there's a very brief scene with C. Thomas Howell as the Secretary of Defense, and it's so funny. Caspar Weinberger. So there's a scene where it's like, it's something like, well, let's ask the brilliant Secretary of Defense, and it cuts over to Soul Man C. Thomas Howell just standing there trying to do the most serious face he can summon, and he's like, I think we need to escalate, covert military operations in the South America. Like he's like, but it's C. Thomas Howell doing one day of work and just trying to do Secretary of Defense gravitas, and it's really funny. So I got C. Thomas Howell. Who else you got in the top 5?
Obviously Kevin Dillon.
Kevin Dillon's Jack Warner is
he's so good, bro.
One or two.
It's so up there.
Yeah. It's very funny.
He's so good in the movie.
It's very funny.
Casting choices in this movie.
Here's one I've got
Quaid,
for you.
Sorbo.
Stapp. Well, Stapp is Frank Sinatra's 1.
Yeah.
I would put Kevin Dillon's Jack Warner 2. 3 is Robert Davi as Leonid Brezhnev.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Davi just like the dumb thug in a bunch of mob movies in the 80s, and they dragged him out of retirement to play Leonid Brezhnev.
Tough.
The General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1964 and 1982. So Robert Davi has to do like, I'm in charge of the USSR face. And it's great. Kevin Sorbo is Reverend Cleaver. Dan Lauria, the dad from The Wonder Years as Tip O'Neill was pretty good.
Yes.
So I guess
he did a great Tip.
I mean, I feel like we have to put Dennis on here though.
Yeah.
All right. So I would say let's put Dennis at 1. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Scott Stapp as Frank Sinatra is 2. Okay. Kevin Dillon as Jack Warner 3.
Yep.
Robert Davi as Leonid Brezhnev 4.
That's a good one.
And then C. Thomas Howell as Caspar Weinberger.
It's a hell of a cast. Hell of a cast.
Top 5 casting. I don't know what were you saying. Top 5
members of the cast. Top 5
top
cast
5
members
performances.
Top 5 Reagan performances.
No, but I would put I would have to put Leslie and Dan as Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, she's
top
good.
6 performances in Reagan. All right, that's our Reagan review. Dear God.
It wasn't a great movie.
What a movie to see in a movie theater.
A good Reagan movie, because there's like it's not like uninteresting. It wasn't like there was zero interesting things that happened for his entire lifetime. Like one day we'll get it, maybe a good one.
Well, to transition though into the next hour of the show, which will be Patreon only, we are going to move away from talking about just the most empty-headed puppet of the American conservative movement to the most fascinating member of the American conservative movement in the 20th century, Richard Nixon. And I think, who people are just chomping at the bit to make movies about Richard Nixon. You know, as we'll see. I mean, we've narrowed it down to 8 for our tournament, but there's others out there. There's lots of movies that epitomize like Reagan, Nixon's America. I think Reagan is just boring at heart. Is the problem? He's just a boring guy.
Like, this is a fake fact. Like, less Abraham Lincoln. Like, Nixon has to be the most movied, culturally put together president.
He's 4th.
Okay.
After George Washington, Lincoln, and Grant because of the Civil War.
Oh, you told me this.
But that's only because those 3 presidents had 50 years of movie history, head start on Nixon. Right. So the fact that Nixon's even 4th is a testament to how much Hollywood loves making movies about Richard Nixon.
Like when we think about Reagan, after Reagan, they didn't. Oliver Stone didn't even bother to do a Reagan. Like, what do we think about Reagan movies? It's like Friday the 13th Part 2 came out during the Reagan administration.
Right. Yeah.
Like, Nixon inspired art.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Shampoo,
the
the Parallax View.
He was actually an important, pivotal figure. And Reagan and his fake tear down this wall
He's
moment.
An actor. He's an actor.
Well, it's not the same. Anyway, let's talk about Nixon. At the Patreon.
We'll be talking. So this brings us to the end of the free part of the show. I hope you had fun. We sure did. But make sure you join the Patreon, patreon.com/moviesbaby, because we're not phoning in these Patreon after shows. We're doing real shit on there. And tonight we have our Nixon tournament. We've got 8 movies explicitly about Richard Nixon and or Watergate. We're going to put them in competition, and we're going to choose the ultimate Tricky Dick Pick, baby. The ultimate movie about old Richard Milhouse Nixon. We're going to pick it. We're going to talk about Nixon, his legacy in movies, etc., etc., etc. You're not going to want to miss it. And then next week on the show, oh boy, we're talking Beetlejuice.
Oh my gosh.
Beetlejuice. We're talking, can you believe Brandy's back in movies? I cannot wait for this. Brandy's in a horror movie about like an evil like mother-in-law. I cannot fucking wait for the front room. I don't know anything about it. It's A24. Like this could be good. Yeah, so we'll watch the front room. We'll let you know what we think about it. We're going to try to get to that Blumhouse movie, Afraid. We'll try to get a couple others. And then also next week, we are going to be in the Patreon after show next week. We're going to be picking. It's going to be a bloodbath. We're going to be picking our top 5 Tim Burton movies of all time. Top 5 Tim Burton movies of all time. I've narrowed it down to 10, and then I don't know what to do from there. Wow. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be tense. You're not going to want to miss that. We'll do a Patreon poll for that as well, so you can chime in on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/moviesbaby. And guess what? You're not sure if you want to sign up for one of the paid plans yet? Go over there. Sign up for free. You can participate in the polls. You can find out about what we're doing over there. Go over there, sign up for free. And while you're at it, please subscribe to our YouTube, youtube.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys. We need to get, once we get our subscriptions over 1,000, we're getting close. Once we get over 1,000, we can start making some money over on YouTube. And we need that money. I can look, you can't see it, but I see some of these panels trying to peel off the walls over here. We need a little cash infusion. The panels
look great, but we do need it. But we will take a cash infusion.
Aris Sevilla, who made this set, would never make panels that peeled off the wall. I'm being figurative. I'm saying we could use a little bit of extra money on this show, and we'll put it back into the show. We'll make the show even better. And the way you help us is go over YouTube, you subscribe, you go to Patreon, you sign up over there. We appreciate it. We're working hard 24/7, 365 to bring you the best movie content on the internet. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes over on Patreon.
Bye.
Bye.